Okay, I will open the record in the matter of the petition for early termination of probation filed by Linda Shimke. This bears Office of Administrative Hearings, case number 2017-011-046. Today's date is February 8th, 2017. My name is Deborah Nye Perkins, and I am the Administrative Law Judge from the California State Office of Administrative Hearings assigned to this matter to sit with the Board of Vocational Nursing and Psychiatric Technicians. I understand we have a quorum here today, and I'm going to ask, before we get started, each of the members, starting to my right, to introduce themselves, please.
Todd DeBronstein, Psychiatric Technician Member.
Bernice Basti Martinez, Public Member.
Samantha James Perez, Psych Tech Member and Board President.
Andrew Moreno, Board Vice President and Public Member.
John Vertito, Nursing Educator Member.
Donna Norton, LVN Member.
John Deerking, Public Member.
And I understand we also have one other person who is present from the board, and if she can introduce herself, please.
Tammy Indozo, LVN Member.
Okay, and so I understand that we have a quorum of the board present for the petition hearing today for consideration. All right, may I take the appearance of record, please, beginning with the Deputy Attorney General.
Good afternoon, Your Honor and board members. Shannon Brubaker, Deputy Attorney General, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California.
Thank you, Ms. Brubaker. And Ms. Shimke, are you here representing yourself today?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And Ms. Shimke, were you present during the previous petition hearing that we had?
Yes, I
Correct?
was.
I'll give you a little bit of information as to how this works. As you know, you have the burden of proof here to show that you're entitled to the relief that you seek, the early termination of your probation. But typically, I'm going to allow Ms. Brubaker to present her case first in the form of documents, and she doesn't have any testimony, and then I'll allow you to present yours as well. Okay? You have the right to cross-examination. You have the right to object to any documents. At some point, the board may ask questions of you, and I may ask questions as well. Okay?
Yes.
All right. With that, Ms. Brubaker, do you have documents that you'd like to provide?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like the original petition packet to be marked as Exhibit 1.
Okay. And I'm assuming you have provided Ms. Shimke with a copy of those documents as well?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Shimke and the board members were previously served with this entire petition packet.
Okay. And Ms. Shimke, do you have any documents in addition to those that are in this binder that you'd like to rely on here today?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
May
All
I
right.
approach?
Yes, you may. Do you have copies of the documents as well? Thank you. And have you provided a copy to Ms. Brubaker? I'll give one to her. Ms. Brubaker. Okay. All right, I'm going to mark the documents first before we get started. So first I'm going to turn to the binder that Ms. Brubaker gave me. And I note it is, as before, it is a petition packet that has lots of tabs A through I in it. I'm going to mark the entire document set, the entire notebook, as Exhibit 1. And the exhibits that are attached to that will be 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, and so forth. Okay?
Yes.
And then she'll keep the documents that you provided. And these are additional documents.
Some very sensitive information
Your Honor.
on page 2.
Okay, I see. I'll get to that. Hold on. Okay, so I note on page 2 we have some identifying information. And Ms. Shimke, just to let you know, any of the documents that you provide to us today here become public record. As
Yes.
a result of that, with regard to any personal identifiable information, on my purposes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to redact that. I note on the second page I have a copy of a driver's license, for example, and I have a social security card, things of that nature. I'm going to redact the information on those so that it does not become public record, okay? And
Yes,
we do that
thank
for
you.
obviously concerns of privacy and potential fraud. So on the second page of that document, I see a social security number on a social security card. I'm going to redact the number by hand. In addition, I see a driver's license. I'm going to redact the driver's license number and the date of birth. It's on there, date of birth. Also the home address that's on there. Are there any other identifying information on this page that needs to be redacted, Ms. Shimke, that you can see?
The address on her license, Your Honor?
That's been redacted already.
Vocationally.
Oh, vocational license, I see. I'll redact the address that's on your vocational license number.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other pages in here? Let's see. So we have, so that I can mark the documents, I see that you have just a cover page here that I'm not going to mark. Then I have a page that you have where you have your copies of the driver's license. I'm going to mark that page as Exhibit A. And then the other pages, Ms. Shimke, could you, it appears that there are a number of certificates of completion. There's 2 of those. I'm sorry, 3 of those. Those 3 pages I'm going to mark as Exhibit B. The next thing I see is what appear to be a number of well, I have 1 letter, then I have a, looks like a work evaluation. And the rest are letters. it
A
appears to me.
90-day review.
And some of the letters have phone numbers, personal numbers on.
Oh, I'm not going to redact everything on here.
Your Honor, the last page, California Department of Motor Vehicles readout has her driver's license number, her date of birth.
Okay, hold on, let me get there.
Sorry.
Okay, so the last page of the packet on here, the entire packet, it has a driver's license number on it. It appears to be from the Department of Motor Vehicles. I'm going to redact the driver's license number and the date of birth.
Okay.
Okay, so going back to where we were marking documents, I had marked as Exhibit B the 3 certificates. And then the next document I have is, appears to be a letter dated January 30th, 2017. And Ms. Shimke, is that an attachment, the next page an attachment to that letter or not?
That is a 90-day review from the letter before, from Prominence Treatment Center. That is my 90-day review assessment.
So is it an attachment to the January 30th, 2017 letter? Is that all one document?
Yes, there'll be 2.
It is, okay. In that case, I'm going to mark those 3 pages as Exhibit, the next in order, C.
Thank you.
And then that takes us to the next, next document is a letter dated January 30th, 2017. I'm going to mark that as Exhibit D. Next letter is dated January 17th, 2017. I'm going to mark that as E. Next letter is dated February 2, 2017. That's going to be marked as F. The next letter is dated January 11th, 2017. That's going to be marked in next in order as G. The next letter is dated January 12th, 2017, and it's going to be marked next in order. What should I put? Oh, G, H. The next document is letter dated, letter dated January 24th, 2017. I'm going to mark that as I. Next document is a letter dated January 23rd. I'm going to mark that as J. The next document is a letter dated January 10th, 2020, or 2017. I'm going to mark that next in order as K. Next document is, appears to be an email that includes a traffic school certificate. And I note on this email, Ms. Shimke, there's a driver's license number. It appears to be on the reference on the actual email. I'm going to redact that driver's license number.
Thank you.
And I'm going to mark the document next in order as L. Next document, and I assume that the next page is also part of that same Exhibit L?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and then the next page also part of that same document?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so the last three pages are all part of Exhibit L. And I'm not marking the cover page. All right. Okay, we've marked the documents. Ms. Schumacher, would you, or Ms. Shoemaker, would you like to provide an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor. The documents in the original petition packet, which have been marked as Exhibit 1,
And by the way, I apologize, it's Brubaker.
it's okay, include a Section A, which is the Petitioner Probation Report dated December 22nd, 2016. Section B, which includes the original petition for early termination of probation dated September 1st, 2016, with various attachments that include petitioner's resume, 8 letters of character reference. It looks about 6 certificates of completion of various courses, copies of petitioner's driver's license, vocational nurse license, America Heart Association healthcare provider card, and social security card, which were redacted, a list of additional activities by petitioner, and supplemental pages of responses. Section C is certification of petitioner's vocational nurse license. Section D is the notice of hearing and related correspondence. Section E are the quarterly reports received from petitioner dated September 30th, 2015 through September 30th, 2016. Work performance evaluation dated October 2nd, 2015 from Barbara Lee at Mind, Body, Spirit Center. Employment information forms dated July 21st, 2016, February 29th, 2016, February 24th, 2016, and September 18th, 2015. Section F includes additional copies of the education course certificates. Section D is correspondence between petitioner and enforcement program analyst Ebony Newton regarding petitioner's probation. Section H is the board's decision in OAH case number 2014-020579, granting petitioner's petition for reinstatement of a revoked license. The decision is dated August 20th, 2014, and effective September 4th, 2014. And Section I is the 2001 default decision in order revoking petitioner's license, and the accusation in that case, which was filed September 4th, 2013, is Exhibit A to the decision. At this time, Your Honor, I would like to offer Exhibit 1 into evidence.
Okay, Ms. Shimke, do you have any objections to my admission of those documents?
No.
Okay, Exhibits 1A through I are admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. We are here on a petition for early termination of probation. An accusation was filed against petitioner's vocational nurse license on July 3rd, 2001. On November 20th, 2001, the board adopted a default decision revoking petitioner's license effective December 20th, 2001. Petitioner filed a petition for reinstatement on November 21st, 2013, and the petition was granted on September 4th, 2014. On June 11th, 2015.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to slow you down just a little bit. You're going a little fast for me to be able to
Sorry.
take notes on this. Okay, so I believe the accusation was filed in July 3rd, 2001, and there was a decision issued effective December 20.
Yes, I'm sorry, it was effective December 20, 2001,
And what was the decision?
to revoke petitioner's license.
Okay,
And that was a default decision.
okay,
Petitioner filed her petition for reinstatement on November 21st, 2013. And the petition was granted by the board on September 4th, 2014. On June 11th, 2015, the board issued vocational nurse license number 289431 to petitioner, which was immediately revoked with the revocation stayed and petitioner placed on 2 years probation. The 2001 accusation was based on petitioner's June 24th, 1999 conviction of violating Health and Safety Code, Section 11350, Subdivision A, possession of narcotic-controlled substance, a felony. The circumstances were that on or about December 3rd, 1998, petitioner purchased and was in possession of rock cocaine. Additional matters that were pled for disciplinary consideration were: on or about January 10th, 1992, petitioner was convicted of violating Penal Code Section 458, burglary, unlawful use of a hypodermic needle or syringe, possession of pipe paraphernalia, and first-degree burglary. On or about May 2nd, 1998, petitioner was convicted of violating Penal Code Section 23152B, driving with a BAC of 0.08% or more. In the board's decision reinstating petitioner's license, it also referenced petitioner's convictions after her license was revoked. These were an October 30th, 2003 conviction for being under the influence of a controlled substance in violation of Health and Safety Code 1155, April 7th, 2004 conviction for possessing an injection smoking device in violation of Health and Safety Code 11364, September 13th, 2004 conviction for possessing a controlled substance in violation of Health and Safety Code 11350, Subdivision A, and March 7th, 2005 conviction for evading a police officer and reckless driving in violation of Vehicle Code Section 2800.2, Subdivision A. In reviewing the documentary evidence and petitioner's testimony, the board found that petitioner established by clear and convincing evidence that cause existed to issue a probationary license. Petitioner's probationary period commenced June 11th, 2015, and is scheduled to end June 10th, 2017. Petitioner is in compliance with all of the terms of her probation. It is petitioner's burden to demonstrate that she should be granted the relief requested. Therefore, we have nothing further at this time, but reserve the right to cross-examine petitioner.
okay, hold on just 1 second. Okay, Ms. Shimke, before you begin, I'm going to place you under oath, okay? Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear under the penalty of perjury to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this hearing today?
I do.
Okay, Ms. Shimke, now I'm going to ask you, I know I have it, but I'm going to ask you to state and spell your full name for me.
Linda Jean Shimke, LindaJeanSchimke.
Thank you, Ms. Shimke. What would you like to tell the board today as to why we're here?
I'd like to, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. And I just kind of wanted to touch on why I'm petitioning the board and why I believe you should grant my petition. On February 27th, 2014, my license was reinstated. I successfully have returned today after going through courses to take my NCLEX test again and gain my license back in September 11, 2015. I petitioned the board for reasons of being difficult to find a job, mainly full-time, because of being on probation, it's very difficult. The required drug testing is very costly. And to get into an LVN to an RM program, they want you to be off of not on probation or have an unencumbered license. I believe I'm safe to practice, capable of continuing to function as a medical professional, and I continue to give back to the community as well as being a responsible and productive member of the society today. And it's difficult to find a job for two reasons. Per the terms of my probation, I'm limited in where I can apply. I'm not allowed to work registry, private, temp, float, or private, or in a float capacity. This greatly reduces the job opportunities. It's extremely difficult to get a job, but it is doable. I have had 2 jobs, which I will touch on in a moment. As well as, I'd like to bring up the fact that the employers, there's numerous job boards. I've got a whole bunch of them that I'm connected with. They are not willing to hire LVNs on probation, so it's very difficult due to liability, fear of repetitive behavior, and most of them desire an unencumbered license, which they will state either in the job or when you go for an interview. As well as when I go for an interview, I bring a packet about this big that has to give them my full life history, which is okay because I'm okay with that today. So with that, another reason that being off probation would increase my employment opportunities. And I've been on probation since June 11th, or August 11th is actually when I met with my probation officer for the first time. So I've been on probation quite a while. I'm due to be done and completed probation on June 10th, 2017. But I also believe that being off this probation will help me to get a better job at this time with certain employers that are not willing to hire. There are some out there, though. This will also increase my ability to keep and work and keep my active license, being off of this probation. In regards to the drug testing, I work part-time 24 hours a day, 24 hours a week, 3 nights a week, 24 hours a day, excuse me, I'm nervous, 3 nights a week, and I'm required to test at least 2 times a month. This consumes approximately 30% of my gross income. In just December, I was tested 4 times, and that was approximately $300, and in January 3 times, so that's about $500 just in the last couple months. And that is why I would like to petition the board. The reason I believe that I should be granted petition today, first, I humbly and respectfully ask for the restrictions to be removed for the following reasons. The reason my LVN license was revoked and put on probation is based on behavior that I have not participated in over 12 years. I have remained clean since January 13th, 2005, when I was last arrested, 12 plus years today. I have fulfilled all the probationary requirements. I abstained from drugs. I've paid for all the testing. To date, I've tested 29 times, and the cost has been approximately $2,000. I've completed 2 required courses, the board required courses, and I've been employed 2 times since I've been on probation, once at Mind Body Spirit Center as an IV infusion nurse. A little bit difficult for going back to the field after so many years, but I did do that for 2.5 months. It wasn't the best fit for me. So I continued to search for another job, and I ended up where I am today as of July 19th, and I've been there for over 6.5 months. And on my own, I took 2 refresher courses to get myself back into being eligible to be applicable for a job as an LVN. I took a clinical internship course as well. I updated my CPR card, and just recently I took completed my 30 CEU credits to renew my LVN license for the first time, which is now renewed for 2/28/2019. I continue to serve the community and give back. I have 3 volunteer positions. 1, I work at Open Arms, volunteer as an LVN at Open Arms Pregnancy Clinic, where we counsel, educate the women to help them with life-affirming choices. I work at, I am a volunteer at Kaiser as a care partner, and I've been there for 2 years. I work on the telemetry and the DOU floors. I assist the staff, the nurses, the patients, and the family with whatever needs there are, so I'm very in tune with what they do on the floors. I'm surrounded by RNs, which my hope is to possibly go back to school and do that as well. I am also a volunteer for 4 years at my church, where I've been a member since 2011, and I'm in the nursery and I care for the newborns while the parents are in church or class. And I uphold the privilege to vote today. I am granted clearance to visit the state prison, Port de la Cruz Fire Camp, where I served 2 out of 3 of my prison terms. And through God's Grace Ministry is where I began to change my life in 2006. Today, I return with that ministry into the prison and share my testimony with the women to help them and show them that it can be done, that you can turn your life around and get everything back that you've lost. I remain a member of my church. I serve in the ministry. I'm accountable. I remain in fellowship and receive wise counsel. I uphold a Christian lifestyle. I maintain health and wellness, and I also have a healthy marriage, which I will celebrate 7 years in May. I am very involved with social and family. I have social and family ties. My mother is here with me today, who has supported me through thick and thin. We went through cancer in 2015, breast cancer. I was her sole provider, and she is a survivor today of that. My husband was also diagnosed with RA, rheumatoid arthritis, in 2015, and he is currently being treated medically and stable, in good condition. We together are homeowners, and I obey all federal, state, and local laws, although I did make a mistake in the holiday season just recently, and that is why I have information on a dismissed ticket. I was speeding in the rush of the busy holiday, and I got arrested for a speeding ticket. So in less than a month, I got the ticket in the mail, paid it, completed traffic school, cleared my record, and got the ticket dismissed. So that's why I included that record, also the DMV. I also would like to be eligible to work for a reputable medical facility, which they do not hire when you're on probation. They just won't hire. There's not one out there. And I would also like to be eligible to continue to get into an RN program if I choose. Today, I believe I've made many, many accomplishments in my life, and I believe, again, that I'm safe to practice, capable of functioning and continuing to function as a medical professional. I continue to give back to the community, and I'm a responsible, productive member of society. And I give thanks to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for everything, and I'm very grateful to be here, and I thank you for the opportunity. And I would like to request that if you would please, I would humbly and respectfully request that you would please remove the restrictions on my license, and I would love to hear from you sooner than later.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Cross-examination?
Thank you, Ms. Shimke. Have you had any criminal convictions since your license was reinstated?
No,
Are there any criminal charges pending against you at this time?
no.
And I understand one of your reasons for petitioning the board today is because of the challenges of finding work, but you are employed with the Prominence Treatment Center. Is your goal to find different work?
I'm content with that job currently, but yes, I would like to get back into the clinical field. This is not a lot of clinical, it's a lot of documentation, which has been very helpful. But yes, I would like to get into something more clinical.
And then I was wondering, you mentioned that it was not a good fit at Mind, Body, Spirit Center. Can you elaborate on that?
I haven't worked as a nurse since before my license was revoked. So that was before 2001. So I hadn't worked as a nurse until I got that job. And I did take 2 refresher courses and a clinical intern, and they did do an IV therapy and phlebotomy refresher course as well. But I just was a little sticky on my skills, and there was a couple really hard patients to deal with. It was a very, very high-end office, and I just couldn't really keep up. I would get a little anxious doing the work, and there was a couple of patients that just felt uncomfortable, and I had a couple hard draws. So we decided that it was best that I didn't continue working there, and she got someone that had more experience. So that was my first job in many years.
And then on your resume, I just noticed a gap from 1999 to 2004. Is that time during when you were in prison?
Yes, yes. I've been in and out of prison 3 times in my life, so that was part of it, yes.
I have nothing further.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of questions before I turn it over to the board. You said, and this might have been a slip-up, I'm not sure or not, you said over the holidays you got a speeding ticket, and then you said you were arrested for the speeding ticket?
No, I'll clarify.
Okay.
It was just a busy holiday season, and I was rushing around, and I
So
did
no
get
one
a speeding
arrested you?
ticket. No. No, I
wanted to get
quickly
clarification.
dismissed it.
Okay, all right, and then I have, you said you're currently working where you've been for 6.5 months. Where are you currently working?
At Prominence Treatment Center, it's a drug rehabilitation, alcohol, and mental illness is what we treat. It's residential, did I say that?
A residential drug treatment
It
center?
is residential. They also have a sober living, which I flow back and forth with, but
Okay. Okay, and before I turn it over to the board, I want to ask you about the documents that you provided here.
Okay.
Can you tell me what, well, I can see what Exhibit A is, that's pretty self-explanatory. Can you tell me what Exhibit B is? Those are the 3 certificates from Western schools.
yes, that is my most recent accomplishment of completing my 30 CEU credits so that I could renew my first LVN license.
Okay. And then Exhibit C is the letter with the 2 attached pages. Can you tell me what that is?
The Prominence Treatment Center and my first 90-day review.
So this is where you work?
Yes,
And who is Kayla Espinoza?
she is my boss, my manager.
So she's your direct supervisor?
Correct.
And your performance evaluation is attached, correct?
Correct, and it's from her, yes.
Okay. And turning to Exhibit D, can you tell me what Exhibit D is? That's the letter dated January 30th from Kaiser Permanente.
Yes, that is where I volunteer, and I've been there for over 2 years now.
And who is Avi Zoraya? I'm sure I slaughtered that.
He is the manager, director of support services and volunteer services.
And is Mr. Zoraya familiar with your past criminal history?
Oh, yes, I had to submit all that, yeah. And Ebony, my monitor, has information on all that as well.
Okay.
All the paperwork has been completed.
And turning to Exhibit E, can you tell me what is Exhibit E?
Open Arms
And what is that?
Pregnancy Clinic, that is where I volunteer as an LVN. I've been there for over a year now, and we help the women with unintended pregnancies to, we educate, counsel, and help them with life-affirming choices, and give
Okay.
them referrals.
Okay, and then the next document, Exhibit F, is a letter from, well,
Mon-
actually, Exhibit F, and then we have F, G, H, I, J, and K. All of those letters, are those letters from folks that you asked to provide you a character reference with?
Yes, these are the letters of accountability and reference, yes.
And did all of those folks know about your criminal history at the time they drafted the letters?
Oh, yeah, they all know. Yes,
And did you ask them for the letters?
yes.
And did they draft them on their own?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so then let's turn to Exhibit L. Can you tell me what that is?
Yes, that is my traffic school certificate that I completed as soon as I got the ticket, and a dismissal record of it.
Okay, so this is the speeding ticket over the holidays? you were
Yes, that
referencing?
I got on December 14th. So I quickly got it dismissed and completed, and traffic school done by January 11th.
Okay. All right, do any of the board members have any questions?
I do.
Okay.
Good morning. Who should go?
Oh, go ahead, we'll go
Okay.
down that one.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Afternoon, good afternoon.
Afternoon, yes.
I'm just looking at the packet you submitted, and I know that you do receive drug testing. That was part of your probation.
Oh, yes, I did mention.
And part of your convictions were possession of cocaine.
Correct.
Do you have a sobriety date? Do you have a specific?
January
sobriety-
13th, 2005.
Okay, I didn't see that in your packet.
I'm sorry, did you say 15th or 13th?
January 13th.
13th.
Yeah, that was when I was arrested for the last case. last and final.
And then it says, do you attend and participate in any chemical dependency program? AA, NA, anything like that?
I do not. I'm,
And it wasn't part of your probationary terms?
no, it was not due to my lengthy sobriety.
That's fine.
And that's why they honored me with a 2-year probation.
And if I read this correctly in the documents, you are in full compliance with all terms of your licensure probation?
I have completed everything to date.
Okay. And I would just like to say, I appreciate the fact that you are working.
Thank
That
you.
you went out there and found a job that maybe wasn't what you would have hoped, the perfect job for you, but that you knew that was a term of your probation and you went out and found a job. We hear a lot of times that it's impossible, but I appreciate the fact that you went out and fulfilled the terms of your probation.
Thank you.
Okay, question?
Ma'am, thank you, I apologize, I'm just terrible at names. You wrote in your justification that you want to work at a reputable facility. Can you kind of explain that comment?
Well, I guess I would say work for Kaiser or maybe in a big hospital in a greater capacity. And I guess in my eyes, it would be in a clinical situation because I don't do a lot of clinical work where I'm at. And I know LVNs are limited on jobs, but they do have clinics and urgent cares. And that might be something I would like to pursue, but I know that they don't hire if you're on probation.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Shimke, although you don't participate currently in any 12-step programs, it sounds like you give counsel advice or testimony through one of the CDCR facilities as a visitor. Is that right?
I do. I go back and share my testimony there with God's Grace Ministries. It's a church outreach, and that's how I was able to turn my life around since 2006, September of 2006, when I was incarcerated in Port de la Cruz Fire Camp.
Oh, okay, that's one of the conservation camps then.
It is correct. Yes, I served 2 out of 3 terms there, and now I'm blessed to be able to go back and share my testimony that you can turn your life around.
And one of the qualifications to get into a facility, one of the so-called fire camps, nonviolent, non-sexual, non-serious. It's
Correct.
basically an honor camp, correct?
Correct.
Men and women are trained in fire suppression and community outreach projects,
Yes, that is correct.
conservation type. I just want to commend you. Your community involvement and volunteer work resume is remarkable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any
you.
further questions? Okay.
Can you speak to the nurse refresher courses? You chose to do these on your own, but you chose different ones, and then specifically, can you address the one I guess was more clinical than some of the others? Can you touch on those?
Yes, that was 2014 and 15 is when I took it's in my first packet. When I went to a school in Garden Grove, I did 2 different courses, actually. One was in Garden Grove, one was in Corona. I don't know exactly, what exactly did you want to know about those again?
Just kind of what was involved that led you to take a second one, and then it sounded like you were questioning your own clinical skills and how that was strengthened through I guess the clinical internship you spoke of?
Yes, the course that I took at Garden Grove through California School of Health Sciences, I first took a refresher course, which was like LVN RN. It was it was like 5 weekends in a row, 8-hour days. And then at the end of that course, they gave you a clinical rotation. We did 3 12-hour shifts in Garden Grove Hospital, which was at a later date. And they also had at the end of the first course I took, can't think of the word, the study course that I took, at the end of the study course, we went back on one day and we did the intravenous and phlebotomy hands-on. And then at a later date, it was when I was eligible for the medical surgical clinical internship. But to go to the internship, you had to have completed the whole course. The whole course was was completed in November 2014, and that was 63 contact hours. So you had to do the 63 contact hours, and then you will be eligible for the nurse IV therapy and phlebotomy course. And then if you completed all those, then you could go to the clinical internship at Garden Grove, which was at a later date. But you had to keep pursuing and get clearance and medical and physical and TB and all those things to make sure that you're cleared to go in the clinical rotation first.
Okay, so it wasn't 3 separate courses. It was one built on the other, built on the other.
Basically, yes, it was continuous, yeah. A lot of people didn't go back for the clinical, so it was a choice, because it cost more money, and it was a whole different section of that course.
Okay. And then you talked about the one position not being a good fit. How would you gauge your clinical competency and being able to go to work for one of the facilities that you mentioned earlier?
I believe from the experience that I had there that I would be able to do IV therapy again. I'm very good at injections and phlebotomy. That's always been a gift of mine. So I believe that I would take another refresher course before I would probably take another refresher course unless someone would be able to give me a little bit of more hands-on. I just felt a little inexperienced because it'd been so many years since my original, and then this course was a very short course. It was just a one day. But I would definitely brush up on my clinical skills. And most places will give you a little bit of training if they see that you've been working, and I'm hoping that if I got into an urgent care or a clinic, that they would probably walk me through some of the things that they do, which is basically injections or starting an IV or taking someone's blood, drawing someone's blood. So I think I'd be capable.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions from the board?
I do.
Okay.
Just want to make sure I'm clearly understanding what you shared with us. Your probation ends June 2017. This
June
is now-
10th, 2017.
Yes.
Yes.
And this is now February
Yes.
of 2017. It's almost exactly 4 months from now.
Yes.
Why the urgency right now? Help us understand why it's so urgent beyond the 4 months.
Well, if you'll notice, my packet was turned in September, and I missed the September hearing, so I decided to come anyway. Just to see if there was maybe a possible chance that I might get a response in 60 days instead of 120. I know there's a possibility. And I did all the work. I wanted to represent myself.
Thank you. Which I had another observation, and maybe the timing explains the observation. In the packet we received earlier, there were some letters,
Yes.
and they were dated 2016. For example, the entry B12 from Bridge Bible Fellowship. There was several other entries. The letters are exactly the same, but the dates are different.
Some of them I asked to write me current letters because I was returning, which they still support me and still know my situation. So I guess some of them didn't change any of the letters but the dates.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any further questions? If not, closing statement, Ms. Whittaker?
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Is there anything you would like to say in closing at all, Ms. Shimke?
No, I'd just like to thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the opportunity, and I would humbly hope that I would hear something in 60 days,
Okay.
if possible.
All right, with that,
Thank you.
the matter is submitted and the record is closed. And if you'd like to wait for just a moment, I'll get a signed court reporter form for you so you can get a copy of the transcript if you need it. And, okay, and we're going to take a 5-minute break, if that's good, before we start the next hearing.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Thank you. Madam Court Reporter, are you ready to go? All right. I will open the record in the matter of the petition for reinstatement filed by Kimberly Long. This bears Office of Administrative Hearings case number 2017-011-082. Today's date is February 8th, 2017. Again, my name is Deborah Nye Perkins. I am the Administrative Law Judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings, assigned to sit with the Board of Vocational Nursing and Psychiatric Technicians to consider this petition. We currently have a quorum of the board present for consideration of the petition. And may I take appearance of counsel for the record, please, beginning with the Attorney General, please.
Good afternoon, Shannon Brubaker, Deputy Attorney General, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California.
Thank you. And there's attorney representing Ms. Long, I understand?
I am Gary Gibson, Gibson, representing Kimberly Long.
Is that G-A-R-R-Y?
G-A-R-Y.
Oh, got it. All right. Ms. Brubaker, do you have documents that you would like for me to mark?
Yes, Your Honor, I am going to be asking that the original petition packet be marked as Exhibit 1. I also have Exhibit 2 and 3 for identification. Should I bring them all up right now?
Please. And Mr. Gibson, do you have any additional documents that are not in those binders that you would like me to consider?
I do not, Your Honor. I do
Okay.
not. We're going to submit on the petition for reinstatement and the two additional
The two
exhibits
additional
that the
exhibits?
people have submitted.
Okay, all right. Okay, hold on, let me.
Your Honor, for the record, Exhibit 2.
Okay, hold on, let me
Oh,
mark
sorry.
Exhibit 1,
Oh,
we'll go
sorry.
from there. All right, so I note that Exhibit 1 has attachments A through D, correct?
Correct.
And it appears to be a petition plus those exhibits, so I'm going to mark all of that as Exhibit 1. And then after that, the next exhibit that I'm going to mark is the small document set that you gave me. It appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages in length, although the last page is blank, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And I'm going to mark that as Exhibit 2. Can you tell me what that is?
Exhibit 2 for identification is the docket for Court of Appeal case number E066388 and the briefing schedule.
Okay, and then I have, as the next document, a document that appears to be 89 pages in length. It is 89 pages in length. And I'm going to mark that as Exhibit 3. Can you tell me what that is?
Exhibit 3 for identification is the entire docket for Riverside Superior Court case number RIF 113354.
Okay. All right, I'll mark that as Exhibit 3. And if there are no further documents to mark, we'll deal with admission of them later unless we want to deal with admission of them right now.
Well, Your Honor, if the other Respondents' Counsel has already agreed to submit on it, I would just ask that Exhibits 1 through 3 be admitted into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection.
Okay, Exhibits 1 through 3 are admitted. And may I ask, this is obviously not a certified copy of a court document, or the court docket, or the printout that was provided?
No, Your Honor, I printed out the Court of Appeal docket.
Okay.
And briefing schedule, and the minute, or the Riverside Superior Court docket was provided by the District Attorney's Office.
Okay, all right. All right, and would you like to provide an opening statement, Ms. Brubaker?
Yes, Your Honor. And just for the record, in Exhibit 1, the petition packet includes the original petition for reinstatement and supporting documents, which contains a letter from Petitioner's counsel, Gary Gibson, dated October 24th, 2016. The petition for reinstatement, dated October 24th, 2016. Minute order for the June 10th, 2016 hearing in Riverside Superior Court, case number RIF 113354. The order to show cause issued by the California Supreme Court on August 26, 2015, and 8 certificates for completion of courses between July 12, 2016 and July 21, 2016. Section B is the certification of petitioner's vocational nurse license. Section C is notice of hearing and related correspondence. And Section D is the board's decision in case number VN 2003-847, dated August 20th, 2009, and effective September 19th, 2009. And the accusation in that case is Exhibit A to the decision. We are here on a petition for reinstatement. On December 3rd, 2008, an accusation was filed against petitioner's vocational nurse license. On August 20th, 2009, the proposed decision of Administrative Law Judge Hewitt revoking petitioner's license was adopted by the board. Petitioner's license was revoked effective September 19th, 2009. The basis for discipline in this matter was petitioner's conviction of a crime substantially related to the qualifications, functions, and duties of a licensed vocational nurse. The circumstances were, on December 27th, 2005, a jury convicted petitioner of second-degree murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187, Subdivision A, a felony crime involving moral turpitude. According to the factual findings made by Judge Hewitt, respondent killed her boyfriend by striking him in the head 3 to 8 times with a blunt object. Petitioner was sentenced to serve 15 years to life in prison. The conviction was upheld on appeal, and petitioner started serving her sentence on or about March 23, 2009. In 2015, petitioner filed a writ of habeas corpus petition with the California Supreme Court, which issued an order to show cause why trial counsel was not ineffective and why petitioner is not actually innocent of the crime. An evidentiary hearing on the writ of habeas corpus was held on June 6, 2006, before Judge Patrick Majors, who was also the original trial judge. On June 10, 2016, Judge Majors issued his decision on the writ, finding as follows. The petition is granted on the grounds of ineffective assistance of counsel. Court finds petitioner has not met the burden of proof for a finding of actual innocence. Court orders judgment of conviction is vacated. Court orders new trial to be set. Judge Majors further ordered that petitioner be released if a $50,000 bond was posted, and on the conditions that petitioner not consume alcohol, not associate with anyone on probation or parole, and not leave Riverside County. The geographic limitation was later modified to allow respondent to travel to San Diego County between the hours of 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. On July 14, 2016, the district attorney filed a notice of appeal of Judge Majors' order reversing the conviction. Appellant's opening brief was filed on January 27, 2017, and petitioner's respondent's brief is due on February 27, 2017. It has been 7.5 years since petitioner's license was revoked. And pursuant to Business and Professions Code Section 2892.4, if the petition for reinstatement is granted, the order must include Term 24, requiring the petitioner to take and pass the licensure examination because more than 4 years has passed since the expiration of her license. It is petitioner's burden to demonstrate that she is rehabilitated and safe to practice, and that she should be granted reinstatement of her license. Therefore, we have nothing further at this time, but reserve the right to cross-examine petitioner.
Okay, thank you. And actually, I'm assuming she's your only witness here today. Is that right, Mr. Gibson?
Ms. Long won't be a witness at the hearing, Your Honor. She's going to be invoking her Fifth Amendment right to be free from examination.
Okay. Yeah, well, would you like to provide an opening statement then?
I will. This is an unusual case in the sense that this board will not likely see this again for many, many years. And it is a very simple legal issue, and that is when a license is revoked on the basis of Business and Professions Code 490 and 2728F, where the sole basis for revocation is a criminal conviction, and that at some future date that conviction is found to be constitutionally invalid, can that revocation stand? And the issue would be, is it the petitioner's burden? And given the Administrative Procedures Act, this is kind of the only game in town for her to get her license back. That as the law exists, she has to come before you and seek a restoration of her license. Notwithstanding the fact that she is involved with Senator Joel Anderson to modify the Administrative Procedures Act to reopen the 30-day window for appeal of a revocation from the moment of a reversal of a conviction based on a constitutional violation. But the issue that we disagree on, the people and ourselves, is what is the nature of the burden that she bears Our position is the burden she bears is producing to you, as has been produced in Exhibit 3 on page 6 of that 89-page document, that her conviction was in fact reversed, that she no longer suffers the disability of a felony conviction. When I go back to Judge Roy Hewitt's order in July of 2009, and I look at what he based the revocation, the proposed order on, and then the decision was based on the unmodified proposed order, the entirety of her revocation is the conviction. The conviction no longer exists. One of the reasons that, and I appreciate that the court appeared surprised when she wasn't going to be providing evidence in her defense, because it makes this board's decision difficult in a normal rehabilitation proceeding. This is not a normal rehabilitation proceeding. We believe that by establishing that the conviction has in fact been reversed, as was established by page 6 of Exhibit 3, that Ms. Long is done with her rehabilitation presentation, that it is now the government's burden to show that she shouldn't have her license reinstated. And it puts this board in a difficult decision, because the board doesn't want to get wrapped up in accusations of moral turpitude divorced from convictions, because then you'd be trying the case. You'd be hearing evidence, you'd be hearing expert testimony, and fighting with competing witness testimony about what happened in this case. But the underlying factual basis that Judge Hewitt used in July of 2009 came out of the fact of the criminal conviction. The fact of the criminal conviction no longer exists. No accusation was filed on the basis of acts of moral turpitude. It was filed on the basis of the fact of the conviction. I don't know how we present the fact that she's rehabilitated from the conviction when the conviction no longer exists. And so this could have been done differently 7 years ago. It would have been much more difficult to proceed with an accusation that was based solely on the facts underlying the criminal conviction, because those are all in dispute. And to reinforce that this is an unusual case, you have a retired 25-year public defender who has handled approximately 60 homicide cases, acting in a pro bono capacity before the Board of Vocational Nursing and Psychiatric Techs. You have in the audience an appellate lawyer who represents Ms. Long, and you have her two lawyers who represented her from the Innocence Project at her habeas corpus hearing in Riverside County in June of last year. And so while I do not necessarily like the fact that she can't answer your questions, I'm not sure there are any questions that she could answer that would be relevant to the vacation of the conviction. Ms. Long has been cross-examined and direct examined 3 times in criminal court, twice during her trials and once during her habeas hearing, fully examined. All of those records are available if this board wants it. That should answer any questions about what she believes about her criminal case. Ms. Long was charged in October of 2003. She was brought to trial for the first time in the spring of 2005, and a jury could not return a verdict. The result was 9-3 for not guilty. She was retried on her case at Christmas of 2005, and she was found guilty. She was released on bail by the trial judge after a second-degree murder conviction. During her sentencing hearing in February of 2006, the trial judge on the record stated that if this trial had happened before me, I would have acquitted you, but it did not. You chose a jury trial, and so I must sentence you to 15 years to life in prison. At that point, something entirely unusual happened. He released Ms. Long on bail during the entire pendency of her appeal. Remember, at this time, she is a convicted second-degree murderer. Something that I have never seen during my 25 years in criminal law. Ms. Long's case was denied by the appellate courts in the spring of 2009. She had been free approximately 3 years. She was incarcerated and began her 15-year sentence. Before she was incarcerated, an accusation was filed, and then a hearing was held in July by Judge Hewitt, July of 2009. I'm informed, although I have not read the docket, I believe it to be true, that Judge Hewitt, as part of his summation of the case, advised Ms. Long, because he included that in his order, that she denied any participation in this crime. It's part of the board's record. that Judge Hewitt told Ms. Long that if and when in the future this case is ever reversed, come back, we'd be glad to give you your license back. Of course, this board is not bound by any of those statements, but I believe it is something that you can look at. And so the issue for the board is, if a revocation is predicated solely on a conviction, that conviction at some time in the future is found constitutionally invalid, what does the petitioner have to prove for purposes of rehabilitation? I can answer any historical questions that you want regarding this case. But I don't believe that Ms. Long is required to answer any other questions unrelated to the conviction. So I don't want to put it in a position of picking and choosing what she gets to answer.
And
Ms.
Your Honor,
Brewer.
I would object to Ms. Long's attorney testifying.
Objection sustained. As you know, this is an administrative proceeding, not a criminal proceeding.
Yes.
And if she chooses not to testify, Ms. Brubaker can call her as a witness, and she can answer accordingly. So if Ms. Brubaker chooses to do so, she can call Ms. Long as a witness, and
She can, and Ms. Long at that point would invoke her Fifth Amendment right to be free from
she
self-incrimination.
has a right to do that. Ms. Brubaker, how would you like to proceed?
Your Honor, we would like to call Ms. Long.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to place you under oath. Okay, could you please raise your right hand for me? Do you swear under the penalty of perjury to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this hearing today?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to state and spell your full name for me.
Kimberly Long, Kimberlylong,
Thank you, Ms. Long. Ms. Brubaker?
Thank you, Ms. Long. When were you released from prison?
June 10th, 2016.
And there are still criminal charges pending against you at this time, correct?
Is there? Yes. But I have no conviction at this time.
I understand. Is it your understanding that if you lose the appeal filed by the district attorney, you may have to return to prison?
Yes.
Have you been employed since your release from prison?
I work as a caregiver. I take care of an elderly gentleman for some people that I met. She's a lawyer and he's a correctional officer, and so I've been taking care of their father.
Your Honor, may I ask her to speak closer?
Yeah, I'm having some difficulty hearing you. I apologize. Perhaps we can move the, thank you.
Okay.
What are the names of the people that you work for as a caregiver?
Wendy and Mark Cohen, Koen.
How long have you worked there?
Probably just a few months.
How often do you work there?
It's sporadic because I go to school.
And what kinds of duties do you perform for the Cohens?
Patient care. I hygiene, and I do laundry and cook for him.
And you said it's sporadically. Is it a few times a week or every other week?
It's really sporadic. It could be once a week, maybe 4 times a month.
Did you ask the Cohens to provide you with a character reference letter for today?
No.
Did you ask them to provide you with a work evaluation for today?
No, I didn't know I should have.
And you mentioned that you're taking courses right now?
Yes, I am.
What are those courses?
My original plan before I was arrested was to continue my education and be an RN. I wanted to be a flight nurse, so I am going to continue that. And I am taking philosophy, taking my general ed, and I'll be taking communications and math. I'm already registered for Monday.
Where are you taking those courses?
RCC in Norco,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Riverside Community College. It's in Norco, California.
Other than taking these courses and working as a caregiver, how else have you generally been spending your time since your release from prison?
I do some volunteer work for the California Innocence Project. I'd like to give back to the people that helped to give me my freedom. I also do a lot of hiking with my dad. He's retired now. That's pretty much it.
Are you an alcoholic?
I'm unable to answer those questions.
Do you have a sobriety date?
Unable to answer those questions.
I did not see any character reference letters in your petition packet. Did you request letters from anyone?
I did not know what was going to happen today. I thought it was just going to be a reinstatement issue. I didn't know what to expect at all. I'm sorry.
Did you learn any lessons from your time in prison that you believe will make you more qualified for performing the functions and duties of a licensed vocational nurse?
You know, spending 7.5 years in prison, you have a lot of time to reflect on your life. Sometimes the lifestyles that, you've chosen. I did a lot of positive things in prison. I did not have one write-up. In the 7.5 years I was incarcerated, from Chowchilla all the way down to CIW. I did everything I could to improve myself in all aspects of improvement, from therapy to groups to classes. I took everything I could. I helped others. I became a camp trainer. I helped to train firefighters, and I helped the girls that were coming in. Some of them were from broken places, broken families, gangbangers, and reluctant to come in, and I never gave up on them. And I helped to, I like to think I helped to improve their chances of not coming back to prison. I believe I used my time wisely while I was in there as an innocent person. It was very difficult for 7.5 years. I hope that answered your question.
Why are you seeking reinstatement of your license at this time?
I have no other skills than to be a nurse. I've worked in a hospital since 1995. I started off as a volunteer at Corona Regional Medical Center. Then I did phlebotomy for 5 years until '99. I went to nursing school, and in 2001 I became a nurse. And it was one thing I was good at. I love to help people. I don't know how to do anything else but to be a nurse at this time. And I want everything to be reinstated to me that was so quickly taken from me. The first thing I did when I got out of prison was get my voting rights back. I want everything back. I'm an innocent person. I was wrongfully convicted. And I'm here today begging to have my license reinstated.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Do any of the board members have
I have
questions?
a question. Not necessarily for you, Ms. Long, but I'm trying to get the legal facts straight, because I'm not a lawyer. So I'm trying to get my facts straight here. So I wanted to ask, we have an abundance of attorneys. It's just some questions on the timeline.
Sure.
That I'm trying to figure out, and whoever could answer best. Original charge was 2003. Spring 2015, first trial, hung jury, yes?
Spring 2005.
2005, I'm sorry. Did not come a verdict. Summer came back with the jury.
Christmas of, the first trial was 9/3 not guilty. Christmas of '05, a conviction.
Okay, and then 2009, we have an appeal that the conviction was upheld.
Conviction was upheld in the spring of 2009.
And then Ms. Long came before the ALJ for the licensure hearing in July 2009.
July of 2009.
Okay. Then in 2013, a writ of habeas corpus was filed claiming ineffective counsel.
Correct.
And in 2016, judge reversed the murder conviction substantiating, basically, I guess, I'm saying it right, the ineffective counsel.
Yes, the Judge Majors reversed the conviction on basis of ineffective counsel, but held that she had not met the burden for actual innocence, and he
Okay.
ordered a new trial.
So that's what I'm not sure of. I don't know what is included in a reversal is, it's not an assumption of innocence, it's that the finding was there was ineffective counsel.
Finding that her counsel was ineffective, therefore the constitutional viability of the conviction is suspect and has to be vacated. And then additionally, he was asked by the Supreme Court, and in that order from the Supreme Court that you have at page 814 of the original petition, again, it's an unusual order from the Supreme Court, and it's signed by all 7 Supreme Court justices, which doesn't necessarily happen all the time. They also asked Judge Majors to make a finding on a factual finding of innocence. And it's very important to remember that the factual finding of innocence is governed by Penal Code Section 851.8.
I'm looking at that right now. I'm looking at A11, A14. You're saying that they asked to,
The 7 justices of the California Supreme Court said that there's enough here for all of us for the district court or the district court to be ordered to take a look at it. It's got to go back to the Superior Court of Riverside County, hold a hearing on these allegations that have been made that the conviction lacks a constitutional viability.
can I just read a little bit? The matter is placed on calendar why trial counsel was not ineffective in his failure to consult a time of death expert, investigate DNA evidence, present evidence petitioner did not change her clothes, and present evidence of the victim's application for a restraining order, and why petitioner is not actually innocent of the crime as petitioner
Correct.
claims.
2 separate
So
questions.
That's the, okay.
The second question was decided under Penal Code Section 851.8, which states if there has to be no facts that would point towards her guilt. It's a very high standard. Basically, if there's a sufficiency of proof for arrest, not for conviction, but for arrest, if there's any probable cause, you're not going to get your factual finding of innocence granted. It doesn't mean she's not guilty of the charge. It doesn't mean that it's a 50-50 standard. It could be something substantially less than that. But I can only tell you that my experience is during the course of my career, I only had 1 factual finding of innocence granted. And factual finding of innocence are generally only granted when there is a viable third-party suspect available or there's conclusive forensic evidence in the nature of DNA that it totally excludes the person from being the person possibly responsible for the crime. Those things didn't exist in this case.
Okay, and then the one thing that, now I don't understand, maybe I don't understand the reversal completely, is now I hear that the DEA is appealing the reversal. Is that accurate?
That
Yes.
is accurate. That is accurate.
Yeah, the district attorney filed a notice of appeal of the ruling reversing the conviction.
So
And-
there could,
Which is normal.
So there's 2 ways. Either the Court of Appeal could decide to reverse the reversal, essentially, or if the appeal is denied, then there will be a new trial
That
on the
is
secondary
possible.
murder.
But I don't want this board to get too deep into the weeds of this. I mean, this would be like trying it yourselves.
Right.
Where are we today? Her license was revoked because she had a conviction. She no longer has that conviction because it's been vacated as a result of a constitutional infirmity. So where are we today? Can the revocation stand?
and my only, and excuse me, because I'm not a legal expert. So in my mind, the only question I'm having, and I'm not sure I'm going to phrase this properly, is the conviction gone? Or could it come back? Could there be a reconviction?
Yes and yes. It is gone today, but it could come back.
That's all I just didn't understand that.
I have a question. We have questions.
So can I ask my question?
Yes, do you have a question?
So I think this is going to be an overarching question, not concerning the conviction, because you're right, I don't want to get into trying a trial.
Sure.
However, our burden is on the fitness of a person to practice as an LVN and the protection of the public. So the things that's haunting me right now is that despite whether there's innocence or guilt, there was an action, right? There was an action that brought about the arrest, whatever, whether it was warranted or not. I'm concerned with those actions that took place, because we frequently will look at, a licensee decides to take a drink and ends up going over here, we look at that entire action. So it's not, to me, it seems like it would be deeper than whether or not we were allowed to revoke her license, because her conviction has been set aside, and would benefit if we could ask or hear what happened with the behavior that caused that to happen, so that we could then determine whether or not her behavior as a LVN is appropriate to be working with the public. Do you understand where I'm going with that?
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I understand the qualms that you have with what
It was
the
actually for her.
responsibility is. But the problem is that the revocation was based upon a conviction. It wasn't based upon acts. The acts underlie the conviction, but those were just acts that were repeated. 2878F said that the only reason her conviction was, that her license was revoked was a fact of conviction. If we want to go back in time, and a different accusation could be filed, and then that accusation could have acts that are problematic for you. But we don't have that.
But when we get a complaint from a consumer stating that this nurse allegedly did A, B, C, and D, that accusation is based upon A, B, C, and D. Throughout the course of the investigation, it may turn out that A was done, B wasn't done, C was done, and D was half done. We still look at the totality of that. So I'm having a little trouble with the fact that you desire this to be cut and dry, like we can't revoke her, or we must give her back her license because her conviction has been overturned. This question is more for you, I believe, than for you.
Well, I was going to reserve
Okay.
time for legal
Yeah,
argument at the end
I
to
think
answer
we're
these
getting into a
questions.
legal argument here with regard to the nature of what the accusation was, as opposed to actually a question for Ms. Long. At this point, it's just a question for Ms. Long. I'm going to let Ms. Brubaker address that if at all possible. I understand. And this is a question that I have, actually, maybe I can address it to you. The underlying accusation that was filed in this case only alleged the criminal conviction and did not allege the underlying acts of that criminal conviction? Am I correct?
It did allege the underlying acts of the conviction. The part of the decision that was made by the ALJ and the findings of fact were what I read in my opening statement, that Ms. Long hit her boyfriend 3 to 8 times with a blunt object, and that was the cause of death. That was the extent of the underlying facts in the decision.
Okay. Question?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Long, this is going back to you. I'm not going to worry about the criminal courts because they will deal with it. But my concern is your license was revoked in 2009, is that correct?
Yes,
And you've done nothing with nursing since then, is that correct?
I was in prison.
Obviously, but I'm
Yes.
saying,
Yes.
you said you took classes. Were any of them science-based, first aid, anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, any classes like that?
You mean as of today, since I've been released?
Well, since you've been incarcerated and including a release, the reason why I'm asking is our main concern, our mission is protection of the public. One of the things that we're supposed to do is if we're going to give you a license back, we got to make sure you're a safe practitioner. You haven't practiced, or to the best of my knowledge, hasn't taken very many classes since then. Now, I know you've taken some online classes, hour here, 3 or 4 hours here. We have those CEUs. But the other thing we have to consider is, are you a safe practitioner? And what I want to know is, of the classes that you've taken, except for those listed here, they're only small amount of hours. 1 hour in wound care, 5 hours in something else. But, you want your license back, then I'm going to ask you the same question I ask anybody else coming here. Are you a safe practitioner?
I would definitely have to take the refresher courses, and I'm excited to do it.
Okay. So the answer is currently, though,
Oh, no, I have not. No.
That's why I'm asking. Because the other half is, the question is, your classes have all been online. Even your CPR certifications, ecprcertification.com,
Yes.
and you haven't touched a mannequin, you haven't practiced any of the skills.
No, I have not.
Okay. So
My-
that,
My thought was when I came before the board that I thought it was going to be quick. I didn't know what was going to happen, so I knew I had to get my CEUs and CPR, and I think I got that within less than 2 months of being out from prison. I was so excited, so that's all I've done at that point.
I understand the excitement, and the beauty of our Constitution is that you're innocent until proven guilty. And you've been given a second chance, questionably. I'm not going to say yes or no, but you're out. But our concern, this board's concern, the reason why you're coming here is you want your license back. Before we give your license back, we have to make sure two things. You're competent, you're safe, you're professional, and the patients under your care at the level of an LVN, licensed vocational nurse, are going to have safe, competent care.
I practiced from 2001 until 2000, I forgot what year it was. I'd be more than happy to do anything it took to get my license back, whatever this board suggests, whatever education I need, refresher courses. As long as I'm on the track to get that license back, I'll do whatever it takes, however long it takes.
Okay, but that
It's important to remember that you won't be allowed to practice without taking a licensure exam.
I understand that, but what was working into that, sir.
Yeah.
You know, but before we even get to that point, you know, the things that we're looking at is we have no idea who you are.
Sure.
That's why the emphasis on reference letters. What type of care have you been giving to the people under your care as a personal assistant or caregiver? What is your schooling? What's your training? Because there has been alcohol in the past, for whatever reason, but there has been alcohol use documented in the past. What have you done to mitigate the use of alcohol? Have you been, you know, do you go to AA? Do you go to rehab? You have there's no sobriety date. We don't know if you're a safe practitioner. I understand you've made the choice not to share the information, but then you can't ask us for a license back if we don't know what type of caregiver you're going to get. No, that's a question that's kind of loaded, and I understand that. But if you're going to ask us for the license, we need to know who you are and what you are.
I think that that's our disagreement, is that it is not her burden is satisfied when she shows that the reason she lost her license was inappropriate and that no longer exists. That she, in the absence of information to the negative that is brought forward, that she is entitled to her license back because the conviction's been reversed, if that's the only basis for revoking her license.
Now, at this point, though, she's lost her license for whatever reason.
Yes.
We have to make sure she's a safe practitioner. Our charge of this board is the safety of the California consumer. On anybody who holds a California LVN license, they have to have those skills that we know they are competent, they are professional, and most importantly, they are safe.
I've never had any complaints against my license for any reason until this false accusation came upon me in 2003.
But even if we take away the conviction, there has been use of alcohol. And that led to whatever, as my colleague was stating here. So the problem we have is we don't know you. You're not willing to share with us a sobriety date. You're not willing to share with us that you went to Alcoholics Anonymous, that you went however many times, you got certification. We don't know you as a caregiver once you've come out. If you're providing care to a person, are you safe? Are you competent? Are you professional? We have absolutely no clue, and we're, by our own mission, we cannot just hand you a license because you're out of jail and you want it back. It's going against the very mission of this board to make sure that the people who have the California Licensed Vocational Nurse certification is all that. I have classes from electronics on computer, but you've never hands-on anything. So it's great to have book knowledge, but as you know, as a nurse, there's a big difference between theory and application. And right now, you're showing me some theory, but I have no clue if you're competent to do aseptic procedure, to properly give an injection, to do a catheterization, to do wound care. And 1 hour of wound care on the computer does not make certification or justification.
Okay, I think we may have a question. from the
Thank
board
you.
members. Thank you.
So you stated that you're taking care of someone related with Wendy and Mark Cohen?
Yes.
Is that the same Cohen that is one of your lawyers, a relative of one of your lawyers? Are you being represented by Raquel Cohen?
No, I'm not.
Were you ever represented by Raquel Cohen?
Oh, Raquel, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, but two separate, it's Cohen with a
Okay,
K.
I'm going to stop you if you're going to get a little bit too far, Bill, with regard to any, I mean, if we're going a little bit too far here with regard to relevance, I want to make sure that we stay
No,
on.
I just asking.
Two separate people.
No, I realize that, but I was asking about the care that is being given.
Okay.
That's why I asked.
What was the
job.
question again? I'm sorry?
Well, because you said you had a job taking care of this person, I believe you asked what the name of the person that she takes care of was. Right, so you have a job that's sporadic in nature by your own words, and then I just noticed that it's the Cohens that you work for, and I was just curious if you obtained that job how you obtained that job. Maybe that's a better way to put that question.
You want to know how I obtained, how I know these people? Is that
How you obtained the job, I guess, because we're looking, you're stating that this is your job, and so I'm asking how you obtained the job.
I actually, I helped them out because they helped me out. They gave me I guess, the lawyer that lives there, she was a student at one time for the California Innocence Project, but no longer does that. She works from home. So another exoneree that got out, Mr. Bill Richards, she helped him obtain his freedom after 23 years.
Okay.
So he got out 11 days after me. He lives there. So we all went there to have a party. They decided they wanted to give me a van to help me out because I don't have an income or anything.
And you're being paid for your work,
Yeah, when I go.
when you go? Okay.
Yeah, so
All right.
that's how I know these people.
Okay, all
If
right,
that
thank
makes any sense. Okay.
Okay, any further questions? Yeah.
I have a question, and maybe it's a procedural, criminal procedure-like question. So, the writ of habeas corpus was submitted to the Supreme Court, California, and it was
Yes.
granted, and then it was sent back for a retrial.
Sent back to the Superior Court of
to-
Riverside County.
Right, now, can you tell me the time frame of when that possibly may occur, or may not occur?
Oh, you mean when is the district attorney's appeal of the reversal of the conviction going to be held?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking for the timeline in the future,
Probably
if you can.
not this year. You won't get you've got a respondent's brief to be filed or a brief filed on behalf of Ms. Long. Then you have oral argument to be scheduled. You'll hear oral argument, and then you'll get a decision. If it happened before Christmas, I'd be surprised. My guess is sometime next year, early, maybe mid.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
Okay, any questions on this side?
On the petition for reinstatement, you completed that yourself? Because some of the empty areas, have you read any books or articles pertaining to your area of professional practice since the date of your revocation or surrender?
I
You said-
actually completed the petition for reinstatement with the areas that you needed to.
Okay, so when it says yes, and then it says, please list the periodicals or books, there's nothing listed. So, I mean, we could put something in there, but is there really anything to be put other than what was stated previously in the, like, online courses and the CPR?
As for my education right now, I mean, I'm doing more. I just got done with my philosophy. Tomorrow's my final. And now I'm taking communications and math because I have to do my general ed before I can apply for the nursing program, which will be early next year.
Okay. And then farther on down that document, or down that page, it talks about the rehabilitation program. Alcohol is checked off. Have you completed a rehabilitation program? It says yes. It says inpatient, and then farther down it talks about NCDCR. Was that,
Well, I got a lot of therapy.
okay.
When I went to prison, it's kind of traumatic to go to prison as a innocent person,
Right.
and I continue today.
Was it like assigned, or was it like volunteer?
Volunteer.
Okay. And then the completion was you got out, or you felt like you had completed it, or you just didn't want to go anymore?
It's never a completion. I'm continuing to still go today,
Okay.
every week. Yeah.
Thank you. I have no other
Yeah, you
questions.
don't come out unscarred from prison as an innocent person.
Okay, no further questions from the board? Okay.
I recognize you did not provide for us any letters of reference, et cetera, and I believe I understand why not, because that really wasn't my question.
Okay.
But you shared with us your commitment to, I'll use the term, coach or mentor young women who came in. While they might not be able to write letters of reference or speak about their interactions with you, if any of us were to meet them, what would they say to us about you? Did you help them? Did you make a difference? Did it make them, was it useless? Just a
Maybe
few
I was the
words.
first person that never gave up on them. I never gave up on them. They fought me the whole way, 6 weeks of a horrible boot camp, but we had to get them ready, mentally, physically, spiritually, to get up on a mountain and fight fires. And they had to be ready. And they had no self-esteem when they came in. They doubted everything in their life. And we helped them to get their self-confidence back. And you saw it in 6 weeks as they graduated, how they stood just a little bit taller in their orange suits to go out there and fight fires and be a part of the community.
And so some are actually part of the California firefighters
Yes, CAL
Now.
FIRE. Yes, yes, they are.
and surviving possibly because you were their trainer.
I wouldn't go that far, but I would hope to think that I helped in some way while I was there.
Could you give any other examples of, that might show how you might have influenced or affected the lives of others during your incarceration?
I think just in my, I didn't give up for 7.5 years. I fought every day. And of course, I have my faith in my higher power, which is God. And I never gave up. And even in the worst days, I still got up out of bed. And I went into that chow hall, and I ate, and I went to work. And I refused to give up. And I had a life sentence. I had a life sentence, which means they wanted me to leave in a pine box. And I just believe that I showed the courage and the resilience. And I think when I would go and show up every day to my 65 students waiting for me to work them out, I would drag myself there sometimes, but they saw it. I refused to give up. I would tell my story to them about being wrongfully convicted, and they would refuse to give up that day, and they would fight through it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any further questions? If not, Ms. Brubaker, closing.
Yes, Your Honor. Today's proceedings are not the appropriate time for petitioner to be challenging the underlying decision of the board, the prior disciplinary proceeding. Any attack on that decision revoking petitioner's license is barred by the 30-day statute of limitations for filing a petition for writ of mandate set forth in Government Code Section 11523. In Miller v. Board of Medical Quality Assurance, which is at 193 CalApp 3D 1371, the court addressed a very similar issue and said that to allow a litigant to attack ancient administrative determinations on the ground they constitute a necessary foundation for a current administrative action would emasculate the purposes of the statute of limitations and would inject unacceptable uncertainty into the process of administrative decision-making. Mr. Vertito is correct that the question for the board today is whether, based on the evidence before you, and not the argument of counsel, but the actual evidence before you, whether or not petitioner has met her burden to show that she is safe and fit to practice as a licensed vocational nurse. Business and Professions Code Section 2878.7, Subdivision B, unequivocally places the burden on the petitioner for reinstatement to prove by clear and convincing evidence that she is entitled to the relief sought in the petition. And in Flanzer v. Board of Dental Examiners at 220 Cal App 3D 1392, which involved appellate review of a petition for reinstatement before the dental board, the court stated that it is important to bear in mind that in a proceeding for the restoration of a revoked license, the burden at all times rests on the petitioner to prove that he has rehabilitated himself and is entitled to have his license restored, and not on the board to prove the contrary. As an applicant for reinstatement, Flanzer is not in the position of an untried newcomer, but a fallen licentiate. Under the circumstances, it is not unreasonable for the board to be exacting in its requirements as to proof of reform. It has been 7.5 years since petitioner's license was revoked. We do not have any character reference letters, any performance evaluations, any evidence of sobriety. And in addition, petitioner is still facing criminal charges and was not able to meet her burden of actual innocence. Again, the only question for the board today is whether petitioner has shown by clear and convincing evidence that she is safe and fit to practice as a licensed vocational nurse. Thank you.
Okay, closing.
Thank you. It's, as we stated at the beginning, which is our disagreement on what exactly you are deciding. The revocation order matters because the revocation order has been given to you. If it didn't matter, it wouldn't be included in your packet. The revocation order is based upon a criminal conviction that no longer exists because of a constitutional infirmity. The question is, what remedy does this board give to that, or what weight does it give to that? I think your concerns about the underlying facts put Ms. Long in a very difficult position. She attended a revocation hearing where the facts weren't being challenged. The fact of the conviction was being challenged. If the people wanted to make her challenge the facts of the conviction, they needed to file a different revocation order. And so with the conviction being gone, the underlying basis in the same document of the facts are suspect and should no longer be considered by this board. There are no facts for you to consider because they don't exist. Those facts went away when the conviction went away because the conviction was found to be constitutionally suspect. No one has ever challenged those facts because we were never put in the position of being allowed to challenge those facts. Ms. Long appeared at her hearing in July of 2009 by Skype from prison and was facing a hearing where her revocation order is based upon a conviction. Well, I have the conviction. You properly are revoking my license. It is reasonably related to the practice of nursing. No one asked her whether she did those things. No one asked her whether she hit her boyfriend with a golf club or a club 3 times. Those facts no longer exist. This board should not consider those. They went away with the conviction. And that's why I'm saying I understand your concerns that you're giving her back your license, but you're not really doing that. She has to pass a license exam, I think, to satisfy most of your concerns before she could ever practice as a nurse. But all this board needs to see is page 6 of that 89-page document, that her conviction is reversed. The conviction goes with the facts. There's nothing left for you to decide. Nothing's been provided to you to show she is unfit to practice law, to practice nursing. But given her history with the court system, I'd say she may be qualified. You know, if you look at this, 89 pages of Kim Long's life. This started in November 2003. It has not ended. It is 2017. And I'm reminded of a quote by Dr. King that the moral arc of the universe is long, but bends towards justice. And that's all she's asking for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, the matter is submitted and the record is closed. If you'd like to stay for just one moment to get the court reporter's transcript sheet, we'll provide that to you in just one moment. And we'll take a 2-minute break before our next petition hearing, which, just to let whoever it is out there know, that person is T.B. Kinfee. Okay. I will open the record in the matter of the petition for reinstatement filed by, and I'm probably going to slaughter your name, is it T.B. Kinfee? Tibby Kinfee. Okay. Okay. Ms. Bear's Office of Administrative Hearings, case number 2017-011-065. Today's date is February 8th, 2017. Again, my name is Deborah Nye Perkins. I am an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings in the state of California, assigned to sit with the Board of Vocational Nursing and Psychiatric Technicians, which is convened here today to consider this petition. We currently have a quorum of members present for hearing this petition. May I take appearance of counsel for the record, please?
Good afternoon, Shannon Brubaker, Deputy Attorney General, appearing on behalf of the people of the state of California.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Kinfei.
Kinfei.
Kinfei,
That's
thank
fine.
you. I'll get it right eventually.
That's okay.
You're here representing yourself, correct, Ms. Kinfei?
Correct.
All right, so, and I assume you were patiently waiting and listening to the other petitions,
Yeah,
so you generally know how this
Training,
goes.
yeah.
All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark documents. So, Ms. Brubaker, if you could provide me with the documents that you intend to
Yes, Your
rely
Honor,
upon.
I will request that the petition packet be marked as Exhibit 1, and I will bring it forward now.
Ms. Kinfei, do you have any additional documents other than those that are in this binder that you'd like to rely on today?
No.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to mark the binder, or the documents in the binder as Exhibit 1, and it looks like we have Exhibits 1A, B, C, and D. And those are the tabs underneath Exhibit 1. I'll mark all the documents as Exhibits 1, A, B, C, and D. Okay. Ms. Brubaker, would you like to provide an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. First, in the petition packet marked as Exhibit 1, the documents consist of Section A, which has the petition for reinstatement and supporting documents, including a letter from Lisa Corrales at Community Regional Medical Center dated October 17th, 2016, a letter from Colin Murchison at a place called Home dated October 19th, 2016, a Fresno City College Associate Degree in Life Science dated October 1st, 2014, copies of Petitioner's American Heart Association Healthcare Provider Card and Nurse Assistant Certification, a portion of a letter from the board dated October 11th, 2016 with Petitioner's selection of hearing dates. Section B has certification of Petitioner's vocational nurse license. Section C has Petitioner's confirmation that she would appear today, notice of today's hearing, a letter from the board dated October 11th, 2016, and letter from Petitioner dated July 8th, 2016. And Section D is the board's decision in OH case number 2012-040730, dated June 7th, 2013, and effective July 7th, 2013. And the accusation filed on February 6, 2012 as Exhibit A to the decision. At this time, I'd like to offer Exhibit 1 into evidence.
Ms. Kinfei, do you have any objections to the admission of those documents for our consideration?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so Exhibits 1A, B, C, and D are admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. We are here on a petition for reinstatement. On February 6, 2012, an accusation was filed against Petitioner. The proposed decision of the administrative law judge was adopted by the board on June 7, 2013. Petitioner filed a petition for reconsideration on June 14, 2013, which was denied. Petitioner's license was revoked effective July 7, 2013. The basis for discipline in this matter was Petitioner's participation in a conspiracy to unlawfully obtain and smuggle drugs into a correctional training facility. The circumstances were, in late November or early December 2008, Petitioner obtained marijuana and benzylpiperazine pills, which are controlled substances under Health and Safety Code 11054 subsection D, and the Federal Controlled Substances Act, respectively. Petitioner furnished the controlled substances to another individual, Danielle Galloway, so that Ms. Galloway could smuggle the substances into the correctional training facility. Petitioner had communications with Vince Jackson, who was an inmate in the correctional training facility, regarding Mr. Jackson's plan to receive and sell the substances to other inmates. Mr. Jackson is the father of one of Petitioner's children. On or about December 5th, 2008, Ms. Galloway was apprehended while attempting to smuggle the substances into the facility. Petitioner was charged with conspiracy to smuggle controlled substances into a correctional facility, but the charges were dismissed pursuant to Penal Code Section 1385. At the administrative hearing, petitioner denied her involvement in the conspiracy, but the judge did not find her denial persuasive given the contradictory evidence. It has been over 3.5 years since petitioner's license was revoked. This is her first petition for reinstatement. As an additional matter for consideration by the board, petitioner was ordered to reimburse the board for costs of enforcement in the amount of $7,022.50, and the entire amount remains outstanding. At this time, it's petitioner's burden to demonstrate that she is rehabilitated and safe to practice, and so we have nothing further but reserve the right to cross-examine petitioner.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Kinfey, before I let you present your evidence, I'm going to place you under oath, okay? So
Okay.
could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear under the penalty of perjury to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this hearing today?
I do.
Okay, and I know I already have it, but again, just like everyone else, I'm going to ask you to state and spell your full name for me.
It's Tebe Kinfey, Teebe. Last name is Kinfe.
Thank you, Ms. Kinfey. Ms. Kinfey, what would you like to tell the board about why you're here today for this petition?
First of all, thank you for letting me come before you and ask for the reinstatement. I just want to say that I want my license reinstated, not, because I'm a single mother, a sole provider to 6 children. I have no convictions. I currently work as a CNA at a assisted living facility called A Place Called Home, which has 6 patients with different diagnoses of Alzheimer's, from diabetes, Parkinson's, just a wide variety of diagnoses that I'm able to work around. Even though my license was, taken, I've been doing all that I can do to still be in the field. I was grateful, humble that I was able to have my CNA license, and I got that back in November 2014. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to work right away because personal stuff. My brother was diagnosed with cancer and passed away 2014 of December. January 2015 until 2015, as soon as I could, I utilized my CNA certificate and worked at Orchard Park, which is a large assisted facility with numerous kinds of patients, numerous kinds of diagnoses. And I provided, ADLs and ambulation and everything else that caregivers provide. I left there in 2015, and I went to a place called Home, which is another assisted living. And I started that December 2015 until present. Also, I've done all my prereqs for RNs, but because you have to have an active license, LVN license to do the LVN to RN program, I got the next thing, which is Associates of Science in Life Science, because I thought that would help me get a better job, but I haven't been able to get a job with that degree, so I'm still working as a CNA. Right now. I just want to say that I love being that's why I was a CNA first, then I got my LVN. I love to help people. I love nursing and the medical field. And I just want to, move on and get my RN and continue to help, my community, my family, and mostly my 6 children. And I think I'm safe and competent to become an LVN again and work in the field again. I continuously am reading books. I just did 48 hours of CE, continuous education, although it's for the CNA, for my CNA. I have my CPR, so I didn't get in trouble. I never got in trouble. I don't have any issues. I don't deal with anybody that, caused me to be in this position to begin with. I just take care of my children, work, and just, becoming a productive member of society. Also, I want to address the $7,000. There's just no way I could pay that. But I do want to say that last year, my state taxes took $1,500, and it was put towards this. So my new total is $5,522.50.
I'm sorry, what was the total again? I'm sorry.
The new total with the
Is 5,000.
$5,522.50.
Thank you. Okay. Cross-examination, Ms. Brubaker?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Kinvey, have you had any criminal convictions since you signed your petition for reinstatement?
No, ma'am.
Are there any criminal charges pending against you at this time?
No, ma'am.
You submitted 2 character reference letters. Did you tell the authors of those letters that your vocational nursing license had been revoked?
Yes, ma'am.
When is the last time you had contact with Vince Jackson?
He's my son's father, so I do have contact with him, but he's just a disabled person now. He has disabilities. This is not about him, but he's my child's father, so I do have to communicate with him and all that and see him.
And when is the last time you had contact with Danielle Galloway?
I don't know her. I've never had contact with her since I've seen her in the courts.
And what changes in your life have you made to ensure that there would not be a repeat of the events that led to the revocation of your license?
I'm just a better person. Like I said, I stay away. Other than Vince because we have a child. All I do is work. Take 6 kids. I pretty much don't have nothing else to do. Just continue working. Continue pursuing education. I took care of my brother throughout his whole cancer thing, and he passed away in 2015. I'm just an all-around good person. I'm humble, I'm kind. I like to take care of patients. I was an LVN for almost 13 years. You can ask anybody that's worked with me. I'm helpful to other nurses. I take very good care of my patients, and I'm just a natural caregiver. And I just ask, for you guys to reinstate my license so I can continue to do what I love to do. And I think I'm a great asset to the people, to people that are in my community, people in the hospitals, and even to the nurses, because I work great with others and I'm very helpful to other nurses.
I have
and
nothing
other
further.
people.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. Can you tell me about the circumstances of your conviction?
I never got convicted.
Okay,
I don't have a conviction.
Were you arrested?
I was arrested for a day, and it was conspiracy to bring drugs into a facility, which I never went to the facility. Never went to the facility, and none of that.
Okay, maybe you
I
could
don't
back
want to
up.
seem like I'm not taking, my thing was that my phone was being used. It was under my name. I was making 3-way calls. There was things recorded on my phone line under the thing.
Okay, let's step
But
back
I
first.
am-
Let's step back for just a second.
Okay.
Can you tell me what happened that resulted in your arrest? Can you
They
describe what
came
happened?
and arrested me and say that they're arresting me for conspiracy to smuggle drugs. But I don't have drugs, I don't use drugs, never was caught with drugs, never went to the prison, any of that. It was conspiracy, but I want to say that I'm very apologetic for the circumstances, and I don't deal with any of those people, and I have nothing to do with none of that, and I am a law-abiding citizen.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
I do. So I'm just reading the Judge Slickman's decision previously, from when you had the hearing. Do you remember that?
For the nursing,
Yeah.
Okay.
You appeared before Judge Schlickman?
I suppose it's been,
Yeah, let me get the actual date here, February 13th, 2013. In Judge Schlickman's, there's a lot of talk about phone calls and coded communication, and I don't pretend to know all the coded communication that goes on in prisons, but there was a lot of talk about Skittles and M&Ms, and then in Judge Schlickman's, in her decision, let me see if I can find it here, now that I went away from it. It says, respondent, that's you, asserted that her discussions with Jackson concerning Skittles and M&Ms referred to her sending Jackson candy while he was incarcerated.
ma'am, at that time, it's been a while, but it could have been because I did send him packages and things like that.
So that's still, that's still true? Or that's
It
still what you're
could
saying?
be, but, yeah, I did send him packages of
And-
candies.
And I'm just also trying to understand, as Her Honor was also trying to understand that you weren't convicted. The conspiracy was to actually put the substances, what was claimed was to put the substances into Miss Galloway's body for her to smuggle into the prison. That was what was claimed was a conspiracy.
Yes, that was clean, but that was clean. Miss Galloway never stated that or nothing. I never told her that. But at that time, I wasn't able to enter this sworn affidavit from Miss Galloway.
Oh, okay.
Then, because they said it was missing a page. But, I mean, you know, at that time, I don't want to, I don't know what to say. Go ahead.
I'm just-
I don't want to sit, I don't want you guys to think that I'm taking responsibility for what occurred and the reason that my license was took, and I feel like I'm rehabilitated from that just by not dealing with nobody or trying to help anybody, just solely focusing on my kids, my mom, and my family. So I don't want to come off like I'm just,
Of course,
you know,
of course.
I'm very apologetic, and I'm very humble that I even got, you know, was my CNA. And then that I was able to get, you know, although not my RN degree, that I was able to get a degree and, you know.
And Ms. Brubaker, I believe in your opening statement, you did confirm that Ms. Kinfey was not convicted,
Correct, the charges were dismissed.
but that Ms. Galloway was convicted and went into a prison, and within her body was found to be 43 grams of marijuana and 39 benzopipazarine pills?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions? Yes.
So I'm trying to understand, and I appreciate that you are taking full responsibility and you're apologetic relating to the circumstances that led to your one-day arrest. So you previously stated that you didn't know Danielle Galloway. Is that true? Do you know Danielle Galloway?
Just from the case, I didn't know her previously, and then I seen her at the court. That's it. I
Okay.
did it.
So did you interact with Danielle Galloway during that time?
No.
You didn't.
No.
So are you saying that what's in this document, as far as you being a vehicle for these phone calls and interacting with Danielle Galloway, you're saying that that didn't happen? Because I'm trying to
Well,
figure out which
they
kind, what
don't
you're
ins-
taking accountable for.
Yeah, no, I was talking with Vince Jackson, and I think that's what it says in the paper. It doesn't say that I was talking to Danielle Galloway.
Okay. And then it also talks in here about the phone call coming to you from the prison and then you getting a third person on the line. Is
Yes.
that true?
Yes, I
That
did
it-
do that.
You did do that?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Can you tell me who that person was? Who was the third person on the phone call?
No, I don't even know. I don't know at this time. I don't remember. I would have to look at the paper. I know they stated that. It wasn't just one. I know that they taped several conversations.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. So what was the content of those conversations when you got that third person on the line, and why would you do that?
I don't remember the content. That was stuff from 2008. And I've been through so much stuff, things, death, everything, you know. So I do apologize, but I don't remember the content. And at that time, I don't know why I did it. I guess just young, dumb, you know. But I'm aware, you know, I know what's right and wrong. And
Do you believe that what you did was the right thing to do, or?
absolutely not.
Okay.
No, it's
And-
inappropriate, and I should have never put myself in that position to have
Okay.
the
And-
3-year struggle that I've had with my kids and my mortgage and barely making it through the grace of God. So I'm very aware, and I've totally learned my lesson and have never had any incidents of any sort since then.
Okay. So my last thing is, that when you weren't before, for you had your hearing, what the judge said was that it was on you to prove that you're rehabilitated and that your misconduct, that you can assure us that your misconduct won't happen again. So your misconduct essentially was in making a bad decision in doing that. He didn't seem to think, it says that he goes on to say that given respondent's serious acts of dishonesty and her failure to take responsibility for her actions, the board cannot conclude the respondent is sufficiently rehabilitated to warrant the retention of her license. So what can you tell us now so that this paragraph would be changed? So that we could say, yes, she understands what happened and she won't repeat this behavior and she learned this and this is applicable to being an LVN because, I mean, that's what I need to know.
Really, I don't know what you're saying. I guess just that I haven't gotten in any trouble or just kept myself away. And I totally understand, and I've gone through major griefs because of that action. So I will never go back. It would be like sticking, you know, like walking the same direction, knowing that there's a pit bull chasing after me every day. I don't know if you understand that. I would never make the same mistake that I've suffered so much from, and I haven't, and I won't.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Any further questions?
Yes, I
Okay.
do. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
I just want to make sure that collectively, we are understanding the circumstance of how someone could, and I'll use your term, innocently fall into this kind of situation. If you kind of walk us back just a little bit, under whose direction did you put a third person on the phone?
Direction.
Did you just think to do it, or did you do
No, I
it because
didn't.
someone asked you?
Someone asked me to, and I just did it.
Can you give us a little more detail about that someone, or?
Oh, it's Vince Jackson who was involved in the case. I was involved with him and actually ended up having a child with him. And I guess it was just dumb, you know, being young. That's not an excuse, and I'm not using any of these as an excuse. It just happened, and I've greatly learned from it.
But as I'm listening to you,
Okay.
because of the relationship, you followed his request versus.
Oh, I get what you're saying, yes. Yeah, well, I haven't and never will follow his request. I don't know if that's what,
that's helpful.
Yeah, oh no, I haven't and never will follow his request. And like I said, at the time, I was just maybe young, dumb, blindly in love. I don't know. But I mean, I'm older now, and I'm, you know, I just appreciate, and I mean, there's, you know, you can't do nothing. You can't become a RN. You can't move on. You can't practice and do what you love to do and what you felt that you were a great asset to. You know, since from 2002, 2013, I've been to LVN. I've never had no med air, never gotten written up for anything. Like I said, I was a good nurse. It's just like you said, just a situation that occurred that I blindly, I guess, got myself into, and I suffered the consequences. Oh, I think I did.
Okay. To help us understand that maybe there was a lesson learned here, because I want to make sure I'm hearing you.
Yes,
So that now you think about
things before.
requests. Well, just a minute, you don't agree with me. You might not
Sorry.
like where I'm going. And we'll have you on record say, she said yes. If I'm hearing you right, that as a result of this experience, when someone who's not in your immediate family or trusted asked you to do something, are you telling me you think about that first before you do it, and you might say no?
Absolutely.
Can you give me an example where that lesson has been applied elsewhere? In your life,
In
in
my life?
circumstances?
Is it, well, like I said, I stay away, but it could just be, could it be like, my brother asked me to drive my car last week and he didn't have a license, so I told him no?
Well, did that happen?
Yeah, it did happen. I don't have no
okay.
major
Okay.
thing like this to, but that's
Okay.
just, yeah, that
Can you give
happened.
me one more example? That was a good one.
Yeah, just anything, one more example would be, let's see what I've had happen.
Children? I
Oh,
wanna
as
stay out
simple
all
as that?
night,
Oh, well,
Mommy.
yeah, I have 6 children. Of course, if it's something that's gonna hurt them, or tell me, Mom, can I jump off this with my bike or do this? Of course, I'm gonna think about it. Of course, that's gonna be no, but any decision, I'm gonna think about it thoroughly, and I have been thinking about it thoroughly.
So
That's
in your
just the way I live.
practice, in your healthcare practice, how has that affected how you do your daily work?
Now,
Yes.
well, I'm very restricted, you know, as you know, I can't do nothing, that, I can't do any procedures except, you know, ADLs, take care of the patient, I can ambulate them, turn them, but I can't practice, I can't do nothing. I haven't been able to do nothing that
When you say
LVN
you
does.
can't do anything, you just said you turn patients, you
Yeah, but
might do
I thought you were
feeding,
talking
you
about
might do
Wait, I'm
LVN.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't want you to just talk over each other. It makes it impossible for the poor court reporter to take everything down.
No
And the
problem.
record gets very blundered, so
Sorry.
can we ask the question again and then wait for her to ask the question before you provide an answer?
Okay.
You ready? What I'm asking you is tell us about some circumstances, not everything, in your work where you have to think about doing this versus doing something else. In other words, making a decision.
Making a decision as a CNA versus LVN? I'm not getting
You,
the answer, I'm
you have a
sorry.
job right now, correct?
Right, correct, as a
What,
CNA.
what's your job right now?
I'm a CNA. I take care of patients, you know, complete bathing, incontinence care, turning the patients, ambulation, feeding,
Okay.
for their safety.
Okay, great. So a patient might ask you for something or to do something. How do you determine should you be doing that or not?
Okay, I can tell you about it. It's just like my patient asked me for a Tylenol, and I couldn't give him a Tylenol because I'm not a licensed nurse, so I had to call somebody else to give it to them, which is the med tech.
And what made you not try to get the Tylenol?
Because I'm no longer licensed, and that's not my scope of practice to get the Tylenol. I can't administer meds.
Can you give us one more example where you had to make a decision about something you were asked to do?
It's, in the workplace.
Please, in the workplace.
Yeah, it was another of my patients. She injects her own insulin, and she asked me to inject it for her, and of course I had to tell her no and call the med tech and LVN.
Thank you.
Sorry
Any further questions?
if I didn't catch on.
One more, okay.
So can you tell me, because I've listened to you and I can understand everything that you've went through and how this has totally changed your life. And I've heard you say that you wouldn't do this again because you've suffered. But can you speak at all to who else suffered because of your part in what, the conspiracy? Who else was going to suffer there? Have you thought about your role in someone else's suffering and what that might be? Because what I'm looking for is the ability of you to apply some critical thinking, which is necessary in the nursing profession, to be able to look beyond yourself.
Yeah. Well, all the people that were involved, I'm sure suffered, from the young lady who had to go to jail, and I believe she was also in the field. I'm sure she had to suffer, she suffered because of my involvement, and her children and my children and my family, her family, and everyone involved. And, the nursing board for their time, and the correctional people who had to use their time to act on, the situation because of my decision that I made. So there's a lot of people that were hurt, besides myself.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, in that case, closing?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you have a closing statement at all or anything you'd like to add?
I actually do. So I don't know who's going to make the final decision, but I humbly am asking, begging to get my, LVN back, hopefully without any restrictions, so that I could, continue
Okay.
and, continue in the health field as far as I would like to go.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. And with that, the matter is submitted and the record is closed. And if you'll wait for just one moment, I'll get you a signed copy of the court reporter
Thank you.
form. And then we have one more very patient person waiting for us. And that must be Mr. Venable, sitting right there. And we'll have you next, okay? Okay, go ahead.
Just
Venable.
waiting for one more person.
Yeah, before we get started, do you have documents of your own that you're going to rely on, or just the documents?
Just have one,
One document?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, I'll get.
the bus back to Vegas
Okay.
is 4:15.
Okay. Better call Uber. Okay. All right, I think we have everybody here. Yeah, we do. All right, so we have Ms. Madam Court Reporter ready to go? All right, in that case, I will open the record in the matter of the petition for reinstatement filed by Darren Venable. This bears Office of Administrative Hearings, case number 2017-011-058. Today's date is February 8th, 2017. Again, I'm Deborah Nye Perkins. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings, assigned to sit with the Board of Vocational Nursing and Psychiatric Technicians, which is here convened, and we have a quorum convened today to consider this petition. Mr. Venable, I understand you've been sitting here watching all of these hearings, so I won't give you in-depth instructions, as I think you probably know what's going to happen. Okay, so may I take an appearance of counsel for the record, please?
Shannon Brubaker, Deputy Attorney General on behalf of the people of the state of California.
Thank you, Ms. Brubaker. And Mr. Venable, I take it you're representing yourself here today, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so Ms. Brubaker, do you have documents that you'd like for me to mark?
Yes, Your Honor, I have the petition packet, which I will bring up now.
Thank you. And I'm assuming you've given Mr. Venable a copy of this as well?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Venable and the board were all served with copies of the petition.
Okay, and so this includes a petition packet. It also includes exhibits A through M. So I'm going to mark the entire document as Exhibit 1 with each of its subdivisions. A through M would be 1A, 1B, 1C, et cetera. Mr. Venable, I understand you have documents as well.
I do.
Do you have copies, or you just have one?
I have, it's one, but it's 15.
Did you provide a copy of it to Ms. Brubaker?
I have it.
Maybe she can take a look. And if you have copies, we can just take the copies. If you have copies of them, I'll take those. And you can keep the original if you need it, unless you'd like me to have it. Okay, all right, in that case, I will mark this document. It's a single-page letter dated February 1st, 2017. I'm going to mark it as Exhibit A.
Okay.
And Mr., let me pass these out. Mr. Venable, you might want to keep a copy for yourself. Okay, all right. Opening statement, Ms. Brubaker?
Thank you, Your Honor. First, I'd like to identify the documents that are part of Exhibit 1 for identification. Section A is the petition for reinstatement of license and supporting documents. With attachments, there is a letter from the board to petitioner, an undated letter from Timothy Daines of Utah State Office of Rehabilitation, a certificate of graduation from the HOPE program dated May 8th, 2013, a letter from Officer Roberts at Utah Department of Corrections dated January 22nd, 2015, a certificate of completion of the anger management group at the Fortitude Treatment Center dated January 18th, 2014, certificate of completion for thinking errors dated January 4th, 2014, certificate of completion for relapse prevention dated January 25th, 2014, a certificate of achievement from the Culinary Training Academy dated July 20th, 2001, a certificate of achievement from the Culinary Training Academy dated October 26th, 2001, petitioner's resume through 2016, a certificate of achievement dated June 2005 from Salt Lake Community College for completion of engineering, drafting, design technology training, letter from Damon Stevens at Salt Lake Community College dated April 4th, 2006, petitioner's resume, which appears to be an older version, an undated letter from Darlene, and I could not read the last name, employment verification from Patton State Hospital for petitioner's employment from 1979 to 1986, and a letter from Mary Jo Evans at Utah Employment Services dated January 11th, 2016. Section B is the certification of petitioner's psychiatric technician's license. Section C is notice of hearing and related correspondence. And then we have conviction documents in sections D through M. And I will just identify the date and the county of the conviction. Section D is January 24th, 2012, Davis County, Utah. Section E is June 23rd, 2010, conviction in County of San Bernardino. Section F is a June 10th, 2008, conviction in Weber County, Utah. G is July 7th, 2003, conviction in Weber County, Utah. H is a January 7th, 2002, Weber County, Utah. I is a October 26th, 2000 conviction in Weber County, Utah. J is a December 16th, 1999 conviction in King County, Washington. K is a May 19th, 1997 conviction in Weber County, Utah. L is a January 21st, 1997 conviction in Weber County, Utah. And M is the default decision in order in case number T823, dated October 18th, 1996, and effective November 17th, 1996, with the accusation attached. And at this time, I would ask that Exhibit 1 for identification be admitted into evidence.
Okay, Mr. Venable, do you have any objections to the admission of any of those documents?
No, I don't.
Okay, so Exhibits 1A through M, or is it L?
A through M.
M. Okay, A through M are admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're here on a petition for reinstatement. On August 8th, 1996, an accusation against petitioner's psychiatric technician license was filed. The default decision in order was adopted by the board on October 18, 1996, and as of November 17, 1996, petitioner's license was revoked. The basis for discipline was petitioner's 4 criminal convictions. On October 31st, 1989, he pled guilty to petty theft, theft of retail merchandise, and failure to appear after release on his own recognizance. On November 8th, 1989, he pled guilty to possession of a controlled substance. The underlying facts were that petitioner sold rock cocaine to an undercover police officer. And on April 4th, 1991, petitioner pled guilty to possession of paraphernalia. And on November 8th, 1993, petitioner entered a plea of nolo contendere to possession of controlled substance, cocaine. On October 2nd, 2016, petitioner filed a petition for reinstatement of a psychiatric technician license. Petitioner has 9 post-revocation convictions. In 2012, he pled guilty to possession or use of a controlled substance, which is a 3rd-degree felony. Admitted to having a pipe on his person on November 27th, 2011, that had a detectable amount of cocaine in it, and was sentenced to prison. He filed a request to withdraw the plea, which was treated as a notice of appeal, and the appeal was later dismissed. And that was in Utah. There was a 2010 conviction in California in which he entered a plea of nolo contendere to criminal threats to victim Felicia William in violation of Penal Code Section 422. And he served jail time for that conviction. In 2008, there was a conviction in Utah in which he pled guilty to assault by a prisoner, which is a 3rd-degree felony. He was also driving on an alcohol-restricted license, pulled over for failure to signal, ordered to get out of the car, and then tried to get back in, at which time he was handcuffed, and he spit and kicked at the officer while being walked to the patrol vehicle. At that time, he was sentenced to prison, or based on that conviction. In 2003, the conviction in Utah, he pled guilty to aggravated assault. Petitioner was a cohabitant of the victim and sentenced to an indeterminate time in prison. The 2002 conviction in Utah, in Section H of Exhibit 1, he pled guilty to escape from official custody, which is a 3rd-degree felony. Section I of Exhibit 1 was the 2000 Utah conviction in which petitioner pled guilty to simple assault, a Class A misdemeanor, and was sentenced to 365 days in prison. Section J is the 1999 conviction in Washington in which petitioner pled guilty to attempted possession of cocaine and was sentenced to prison, and a bench warrant was issued. And Section K was a 1997 conviction in Utah in which he pled nolo contendere to driving under the influence of alcohol, drugs, And there was a note in the affidavit by the police officer that hospital showed there was cocaine in his system. And L, the January 1997 conviction, petitioner pled guilty to reckless driving and interference with a public servant, which is Class B misdemeanors. I will note in petitioner's petition for reinstatement, he only identified 3 of the convictions. And pursuant to Business and Professions Code, Section 4545.3, if the petition for reinstatement is granted, the order must include Term 24, requiring petitioner to take and pass licensure examination, as the petitioner's license has been expired for more than 4 years. At this time, it is petitioner's burden to demonstrate that he is rehabilitated and safe to practice, and so we have nothing further but reserve the right for cross-examination.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Venable, before we get started, I'm going to place you under oath, okay? So could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear under the penalty of perjury to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this hearing today?
I do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Venable, and like with the others, could you please state and spell your full name for me?
Darren Charles Venable, D-A-R-R-E-N, Charles, C-H-A-R-L-E-S, Venable, V-E-N-A-B-L-E.
Thank you, Mr. Venable. What would you like to tell the board today with regard to your petition?
Well, I've been in nursing since 1973. Since I was 16, I became a licensed nurse, psychiatric technician. When I was 21, I worked for the state all the way to 96. I developed a drug problem. Took me many years to get it under hand. I didn't petition to get my license back until I knew that I had this demon under control. And I've been sober 7 years. I've been in 3 to 4 rehabs. I've taken a lot of classes. I'm in AA. I do have a mental health counselor that I do see at this moment. And I do love nursing. I feel like what I've been through, I can help someone else that's going through that same problem that I've been through at this moment. That's what I got.
Okay, cross-examination.
Thank you. Mr. Venable, are there any criminal convictions, have you had any criminal convictions since your petition for reinstatement was filed?
No, I have not.
Are there any criminal charges pending against you currently?
I do not.
You identified 3 criminal convictions on your petition, but did not disclose 6 other convictions since your license was revoked. Why is that?
Well, I misread what it said. I thought they were pertaining to not the one after 7 years or 10 years. A lot of those are 15, 20 years ago when I got in trouble. And so I thought it was for the last 10 years or the last 7 years. So I didn't read it exactly the way it was supposed to be read.
Okay, you identified convictions in 2003, 2008, and 2010, but you have a 2012 conviction. What was your reason for not identifying that one?
Well, the 2010 is the one that I got convicted for in 2012, from my understanding.
There was a 2010 conviction in California for the violation of Penal Code 422. That's the criminal threats to Felicia Williams.
To my wife, it was a misdemeanor. I did like 7 days for that. And that was that.
And then the 2012 conviction was in Utah, where you pled guilty to possession or use of a controlled substance.
That's correct. That was the last relapse I had 7 years ago. And before that, I was clean 5 years before that. I did have the relapse that one particular day. That's been 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago.
In the Utah conviction, you admitted to having a pipe on your person with a detectable amount of cocaine in it. Was that your pipe?
That's the one you just asked me about.
And that was your relapse?
That was my relapse.
So what is your sobriety date?
December 2010.
And the arrest in that one was November 2011. So you're saying that was your
Well,
relapse
that-
after your sobriety date?
That was my relapse date. Yes, ma'am.
Have you had any other relapses since your sobriety date?
No, not one.
And I guess I'm still not clear on why you didn't include one of the, either the 2012 or the 2010 conviction.
I must have forgot it.
Your conviction span a 15-year period of time. What changes have you made in your life to ensure that you do not engage in further criminal activity?
I'm 58 years old. I really never got in trouble until I was in my late 30s. You know, I've been in nursing, never been in trouble until I got that drug problem. And it's been a lot of pain. I lost a lot of things behind that. A lot of people suffered. And every day is hard work to stay sober. But like I said, one day at a time. And with that in mind, I believe I can help somebody stay sober too. And it also helps me to stay sober. I miss my life. I had a good life. It's the second half of my life. I'll be 59 years old coming up. And I do believe, I think I know what it takes to have a better life again. I have had one before. So that's where I'm at.
Are you still attending 4 meetings a week at Samaritan House?
I usually do 3, but if I need 4, if my stress level is too high, I go to a meeting.
And are you also still attending 3 group therapy meetings a week?
I do. I go to Southern Utah, Nevada. I have a mental health counselor, and I go do that as well. That's what's keeping me sober. That's the biggest point in my life. That gives me happiness.
And I understand that you are currently living in Las Vegas.
I live in Las Vegas.
Why are you applying for your reinstatement of your LVN or psych tech license at this time?
Well, being a psychiatric technician, that's what I used to love to do. That's what I do love to do. Being a cook / chef, that's what I had to do to make a living. That's not what I love to do. It's good. I get enjoyment out of it because it's fast gratification. When the food is good and people are happy, then you see enjoyment. As being a psych nurse or psych technician, it's a revolving door. Maybe 10% of people get well. So it could be very stressful when you don't see a lot of gratification. There's a lot of hard work.
I have nothing further.
Okay, board questions?
Yes, I was just trying to get my dates straight here. And I heard you say just a little bit ago that your sobriety date was December of 2010.
Somewhere in there.
So usually, when someone says that, calls something a sobriety date, that means after that time, since that time, you've been completely clean and sober.
Correct.
Is that, so then, what confuses me is the 2012 conviction for possession of the pipe with the cocaine, because that would be after your
That
sobriety.
would be my sobriety date.
2012.
Correct. Well, I thought it was 2011. I've had a few incidents with the law.
Okay. Thank you.
One follow-up on that. Can you tell me the exact date in 2012 that is yours?
December. I thought it was December 11th.
The arrest was actually November 27th, 2011.
Okay.
That's my sobriety date, December 2011.
December 2011 or
Yeah,
2000?
2011. That was the last time I ever had any interaction with.
When you got arrested.
That's correct.
Any further questions? Yes.
Mr. Venable.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, trying to turn on the microphone. You have a long history of drug use.
I
How
have-
do I know that you're safe to be around narcotics? Because as a nurse, you'd be administering medication to other people, your patients under care, and you would have access to narcotics.
That was never an issue with me. That's controlled substances. I had a problem with cocaine. There's no cocaine when administered medication that I administered. I administered psychotropic medication, Haldo, Prolixin, all that kind of stuff. I had no desire for that. I got in trouble for one thing that I ended up liking was cocaine. And I worked real hard not to like cocaine anymore.
So you're saying you wouldn't have any issues
Of
with?
course, no, not whatsoever.
Okay.
When I came to work as a professional, working for the state or the county, I was a professional. I never used drugs while I was at work or around work. I started doing that sociable thing when you have an off day or a vacation, and it turned into a drug problem.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Yes?
Good afternoon. You've been out of the profession for quite a while.
Well, I was in, all the way up into 2014, I did CNA work, you know. But then, when I went to prison, and then I became an engineer, and they paid me a lot more money. So I started doing that. And then I started doing other work that was less stressful, cooking. I enjoyed cooking because people were always happy and upbeat. But I've been in nursing all my life, and I stopped doing nursing like in 2014 as CNA work.
So there's a difference, though, between the CNA work and you getting your psych tech license back and working as a psych tech.
Yes, ma'am.
So how will you integrate yourself into psych tech work and become capable and competent to provide care in that aspect? Because you haven't done that for quite a while.
That's easy. Being a drug addict, being a counselor, I would be more effective because I've been through it. And that's what I would be working with. I used to be a methadone counselor, then with drug addicts. I used to be a charge nurse for alcohol and drug at Long Beach, Charter Hospital of Long Beach. I was a charge nurse for years there. Charter Hospital of Corona, I was a charge nurse there for drug and alcohol people. And I really didn't take it as seriously because it didn't affect me, you know what I mean? But now that I've been through it, I can identify what the symptoms are or what they're going through or how to interact when you are going through that craving emotion and you have to fight through it or you have to do something else to deal with that, you know what I mean?
I do.
Mhm.
So you maybe have personal experience with drug and alcohol counseling, but you mentioned Haldol and all the drugs that are given to psych patients.
Yeah.
Have you stayed current at all on what the current medications that are being used and current therapies? Because you may find yourself in a position where you're also taking care of some mentally frail people that are not drug and alcohol related, just they have a disease process. So
Well,
have
I've
you
thought
done
about that too. San Antonio has a refresher course I plan on taking.
you plan on taking
Because
a
I know,
refresher?
you know, I started in 79, 80, 81, I got my license in 82 when they got updated medications right now. So I definitely have to go back because, you know, they got new stuff. And, you know, but a lot of times it comes back to you as you interact and get back on the unit. There's been times, because I had the license over 12 years, there's been times I take a vacation and I go back to work, it's as if I didn't even have that vacation. It's like, you know, it was still there. It'll come back to you, if, you know what I mean? If you've
I
been doing
do.
it.
I've been a nurse since 1975, so
Yes, ma'am.
but I do know that things change, and you've been out of
Right.
the profession
Yes,
for
ma'am.
quite a while, and we need to know that you'd be able to competently and safely practice. So it's good to recognize and to hear you say that you need to take a refresher course.
No doubt.
So the other thing, you talked about having a cocaine problem,
Yes, ma'am.
and that it was a social thing, and you do it on your off day, but. so
That was then. It
Yeah,
turned
yes,
into a habit.
and that turned into something very different. It turned into something that ruined your life by your own words. So what were your triggers for that? And how do you avoid those triggers now?
I have a lot of things that I put in my way. You know what I mean? A lot of times, number one, I go to meetings. Number two, I don't really agree with that you change environments because it's going to be wherever you're at. It's in every inner city. I don't try that. I went to Seattle, got in trouble. I went to Utah. I'm in Vegas. So it's not about that. It helps, but you just got to make a decision if you're going to be a drug addict all your life or you're not. And that's the decision I made. That's something I didn't want to do. Plus, my age has a lot to do with it. My body can't do the things I used to do anymore. You know what I mean? I used to do that and recuperate in 2 days. If I probably tried to do it, who knows, it might die, or it might take me 2 months to recuperate. I don't really have the desire to go through that no more.
So then my last question is, I read through your packet, it seems you're very successful being a chef.
I'm very good at it.
And the record reflects that.
I'm good at
But
it.
it's not your passion, and that's
No.
why you want to change and go back into, and receive your psych.
That's correct. I can
license
help
back.
somebody that
Okay.
really needs it.
Okay.
I mean,
So you haven't answered the question yet about, you live in Vegas,
right.
but you're seeking to get your psych tech license back in
Correct.
California. So you understand you would need to move back to California if you were to to receive your license back and practice here.
Well, my thing is this. I wasn't gonna come back to California, and I wanted to come back the way I once was, you know? Sober, being responsible, everybody loving me, my family, you know, not looking at me in the way they looked at me. I wasn't coming home until I was not on drugs anymore. I can come home now.
So is it more important for you to come home, or is
All of it together
all of it's important?
makes me that person again.
Okay.
And when I came home, I went home about a week or two ago. And, no, about a month or two ago, and I went back to Patton, and they said I was rehireable. I ran into a few people that still work there, and they're, you know, they're on the hiring board and everything, and they said they would be willing to give me another shot
Okay. All right.
if I
Thank-
was honest enough and I was ready.
Okay.
So I believe I'm ready.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay.
I do want to point out that I work at Patton. I do not know Mr. Venable, and we worked during totally different periods of time. I wasn't even licensed in 1986 when he was working out there. So
Yes.
I just wanted to make that clear. I did want to ask you, sir.
I have a daughter that works there right now as a psychiatric technician.
It's not
Oh.
germane to this case, right?
Oh, you said you never heard
I
that.
do want to know about your current support system. Is it in Vegas? Is it in California? What is your current support system? Because you talked about groups you go to, and how will that transfer with you? How will that stay with you as a support?
Well, you gradually change over. I mean, you know, I work right here. This is where I work at. I work at the Sands, at the Palazzo, and for the Venetian, and that's what I do. But I also worked many years in the nursing profession as a psych tech. So I do know a lot of people over in that area. So I want to come home. So I do plan on transitioning back to California, you know what I mean? And it's just a gradual transition, just like tomorrow, if I can get back to the bus, I was going to go with my sisters. I have two sisters that graduated and retired from Patton. My mother retired from Patton, and sit with them and everything. And they can look at me and see that, you know, I'm sober and I'm ready. And just seeing some other people that I know, you know, and work my way back into that profession, you know. That is my plan, hopefully, if I get reinstated.
And how would you deal with circling back around to that group of friends that you knew back when you were using?
Well, most of them people, as you know, like I said, that's been what, over 30 years? They're probably dead, you know, or, you know, in prison or off drugs. There's only 2 or 3 ways you can go at it. And those are the 3 ways, to be honest.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Okay. Any further questions? I have a question with regard to Exhibit A. Can you tell me what this is?
That's the job that I'm working at now. It's the executive chef that I work under. He gave his personal recommendation. That was February 1st.
And did he know about your criminal history when he wrote the letter?
Or, you know, he asked me, they all ask you, why did you lose your license? I said, I developed a drug problem, cocaine. He wanted to know how long was I off cocaine. I told him 7 years. He said, everybody deserves a second chance. And he said, I've worked with you, I believe in you, and never showed any signs of on drugs since you've been working with me.
Okay.
So,
And I'm assuming you want to admit this. Are there any objections to that?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay. Exhibit A is admitted as administrative hearsay. Okay, anything further? Questions, wise? Closing?
No, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Nothing. Do you have any further statements you want us to?
No.
Nothing? Okay. All right, with that, the matter is submitted and the record is closed, and I'll get you a court reporter form in just a minute, and it's 4:08. You might be able to make it.
All right, thank you very much.
Sorry to keep you waiting this morning, but thank you. Safe drive home.
So do I need to? Ryan, Ryan.
Because the camera's still on.
Yeah. So, yes, I'm going to then. The board will now be entering closed session to deliberate on the above matters that we heard today. If I could please have everyone not authorized to be in closed session, please vacate the room, and we will begin our deliberations at that time. Thank you.